Please take your seats. The show is about to start. So, welcome to the PASBA Spring Conference. It's so good to be back amongst some amazing people from the USA here at PASBA. Now, we have an action-packed morning for you. Many of you, I hope, have seen the amazing videos that the central office have been sending out about the future of this fantastic organization. Now, those of you who were here thinking, my goodness, it's Dave Evans. He was here in November. Surely we've seen this program. This isn't PASBA Repeat channel. I'm not here to talk to you today. I'm here to introduce to you an incredible group of people. Now, before I do, I have to ask you to do something for me first. So a couple of months ago, I realized, working with many of the offices in the room directly, I realized that there's a lot of jargon in this industry. Would you agree? You know, just if you're new here visiting today, just FRG, what does that mean? I mean, the FRG is, of course, the Financial Review Group, to anyone who's not from PASBA who's here as a guest. The thing is, though, businesses the world over use jargon like you can't imagine. So to help you detune your brain, as you've just come out of a mental tax season. Sorry about that. It's a swear word, isn't it, this time of the year? He says, Dave, you're in Miami. You're not meant to mention tax season. You're meant to mention the beach. But anyway, thing is, right, I want you to watch a quick video. And that video is going to give you some of the best corporate words there are. And here's the worst thing about it. These words are not just corporate words anymore. Even PASBA offices say them. So we're going to watch a quick video, and then we're going to absolutely get started. Now, before the video plays, because I know Jordan's working tirelessly to make this work right now, as you can see live. The other thing is this, is that I want you to ask yourself, how many of these words and phrases do you actually find yourself saying? Now, any minute now, it's going to work. Now, Looks good. No, we're nearly there. It's top left corner, Jordan. Top left corner. You should just press the play button. Here we go. No end to our coaching talents. What's this?
Ourselves.
Running.
Let's hammer this out.
Let's get our ducks in a row here, guys.
All right, here's the 30,000 foot view.
Let's drill that down.
I'll beef it up.
Can you put a deck together?
Look, I'll do most of the heavy lifting.
Okay, I'll put my feelers out.
Can you send me the dial-in?
What's the dial-in?
Hey, Lauren, what's the dial in?
I just pinged her.
Somebody ping Carl.
Loop me in on that.
Loop me in on that, will you?
Can you guys loop me in on that?
So what space are you guys in?
Is this B2B?
We're B2C.
Is it C2C?
We're B2C to B.
We're B2C to B, but back to C, sort of. Sometimes A.
We're a brick and mortar.
We're soup to nuts.
Okay, let's ideate.
So what's their value proposition?
What platform are you using?
Who did their UI?
They're UX.
CSS.
IP.
ICUP.
She's C-level.
She's an acqui-hire.
A serial entrepreneur.
A disruptor.
A total disruptor.
That dude is a coding ninja. This new app is cutting edge,
Leading edge.
Seamless.
End to end.
Game-changing.
disruptive.
World class.
Freemium.
It's pretty much the Uber of food trucks.
It's the Uber of dry cleaning.
It's like the Uber of tax auditing.
It's like the Uber of taxis.
What are the deliverables?
Are those baked in?
Are those included in our best practices?
Is that actionable?
I'm gonna have to marinate on that.
I'm not willing to die on that hill.
I'm worried about the unknown unknowns.
I'm worried about the known knowns. What's our launch date?
Do we have a drop dead date?
It's gonna be 11th hour.
It is O-Dark 30.
Look, we need more wiggle room.
All right, we'll have to do it on the cheap.
Now, is that gross?
Is that net?
Is that gross or net?
Is that net?
That's net?
Can you unpack that?
What's your guesstimate?
That dovetails perfectly into my idea.
I'll put it on the back burner.
That's not mission critical.
I think that's sideways energy.
That's not even in our wheelhouse.
I don't have a wheelhouse. I mean, I have a house.
That's where the rubber meets the road.
How can we repurpose that?
Can that be monetized?
Can that be optimized?
Can that be insourced?
We're just trying to create some cross-pollination.
That is the silver bullet approach.
Can we go under the radar? Can we go over the radar?
Maybe we can de-incentivize.
Can you disambiguate that for me?
I read it on TechCrunch.
Keep going.
CNET.
Mashable.
I don't have the bandwidth for that.
Can we talk offline?
We're gonna have to talk offline.
We are talking offline right now. This is talking offline.
Guys, we are batting 1,000.
There's definitely some synergy here.
You guys are like peanut butter and chocolate.
That is a win.
That's a win-win. We should do a viral video.
Isn't it true? Any of those things. And what I promise you today is you're not going to hear that when we share with you the PASBA success framework. Now, I'm going to practice my remote control doofering. I've got this amazing invisible doofer. And as I do this, watch, it changes. Look at that. Isn't that magic? Seamless science in play here. Now, the thing about this, I want to introduce you in a moment to the Kansas 10. Now, it's not some kind of cowboy movie on behalf of PASBA. It's a group of incredible people who, like you, run successful practices. We invited them to take part in our product, the Success Framework. And I have to tell you a little story that we set off together in March. And they gave up 2.5 days of their time on behalf of all of you here today to really look at the future of this organization. I remember driving down this God-forsaken, dusty road of gravel that was actually classified as a main road in America, relieved to have hired one of your best cars, a Tahoe, driving down it faster than a fast thing. And I remember Sean Manning's face in the back going, is he really driving like this? And my wife, who was with me, Debbie, was going, oh my goodness, this is quite harrowing. And then we got there eventually about 4:30 in the afternoon, where most of the crew had arrived. And what was really interesting for me is that I don't think the Kansas 10 had any idea what was coming next. And from 4:30 on that Friday afternoon until Sunday, just after lunchtime, they worked tirelessly on behalf of everybody here in the room. So I'd like you to, they gave up their time, right? I'd like you to put your hands together, and I'd like to invite up onto the stage the Kansas 10, please. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wow, what a collection of incredible people. Now, as they settle themselves down, hopefully today will symbolize massive positive change and evolution for PASBA as an organization. Now, as part of this, there you go, look at this. Next slide. As part of this journey they're going to take you on, let's do a very quick. Now, I'm not going to read stuff you can see, so please do have the freedom to read that. One of the things I'd like to say to you is this. Let's confront a couple of brutal truths. This organization's members base last year suffered its worst performance in its history. Now, the great news is it's stabilized. And there's been a lot of work done by the board and the members to fix that. I love it when these moments in business come because it gives you the chance to do something. Today is about that exact thing. Along the team here, you're thinking, PASBA offices, are we missing one? Where's our number 10? Where's Kevin Turnbull? Where are you, Kevin? Kevin, come and join us. Kevin is one of the RLC team. He's from Real Leadership Coaching, Los Angeles. He's flown in. He got in at midnight last night. He was at Kansas, and he took care of one small thing. Kevin represented the members. He didn't know anything about PASBA. So when this group of intelligent people told the story of things they thought they could do, his job was to ask, why are you doing that? What does that mean? Why should I even care about that initiative? What difference is it going to make in my practice? How are you going to advance what I'm doing? So Kevin is here today, and he's going to tell you about that in a moment's time. Enough from me. Let's go to the next slide. And in fact, let's ask Kevin right now. So Kevin, would you like to just share with us what you were doing in the house? Now, if we grab this mic for a minute and flick the bottom. There we go. Flick it to the right. Kevin, just talk us through what you were doing in the Kansas experiment. What was your role?
Well, my role wasn't to help develop the strategy. My role was a critiquing role. And specifically, as Dave said, I took the role on of being the member champion. In fact, I went a little bit deeper than that because in my view of life, it's not just the members that have an important, but also your clients, because they're the fortune drivers for everyone. So I took on that role of just asking questions about making sure that People were focused in the right direction. I was asking the questions like, and so what? What does that mean? How will the members react to this? Is it positive? Is the messaging right? And so that's the role I took. And I think it went pretty well. And I think somebody had to stand up there and not talk about committees and boards and things like that who run the organization, but were sticking up for the membership. So that's what I did.
Thanks, Kevin. And on that note, I'm going to hand over to someone you all knew very, very well, Kurt Rickoff, who's about to kick you off and tell you about what they've got in store for today. One last thing from me. On this slide are some pretty serious questions. Right through the heart of PASBA, you have an ethos that says teach, share, and learn. And I'd like to ask you to think about these really tough questions. You'll find they're all very similar, but it's a self-check-in today. Are you contributing to this wonderful organization enough? Are you doing things that help PASBA make the difference? Kurt.
Thank you. Okay, we're ready for the next slide. Good morning. All right, what's coming up? Kurt, that's me, Kim and John. We're going to talk to you and bring you through the journey we all went on to get to where we are, while retaining the respect for the success of the past as well. Next, we'll have generation leaders, as we call them, but don't you dare call them millennials. Frank and Brent will be next. Then after that, Tom Bowman and Sean Manning are going to share our cultural beliefs and bring us through that of what we are and where we want to be and how to blend those together. And then next, Barb will discuss the next 2 years and the 6 key strategics to get things moving. I got to warn you, if she brings up a notebook, you might see 8 other people bailing off the stage. Inside joke from the ranch at the Kansas 10, I suggest you ask her or myself or John Estes this story later, because I don't think she wants me to divulge the whole thing here. Oh, it's much better. Yeah, give me time to really make the story good. Then finally, Vince is going to wrap things up and share the member focus on what we all can do to deliver this success framework and the vision for our future. The journey. Before we engaged RLC to help with this process, this project had been discussed for a long time, probably going back at least 2 years or more. It kind of got it started a long time ago in a galaxy, or maybe more like a conference far, far away. For those Star Wars people, you might understand that. Where's my laugh card? That was a joke. One of our most respected members, no, not Yoda, but Steve Gift, so it's very close. Somebody with that much knowledge had the guts to finally say, we need to determine what is PASBA's mission? Where are we going? And he really, I think, was trying to drive home a lot more than that. He wanted more than just a mission statement and things like that. Most of our firms have that, but I think he was wanting to dig deeper. That conversation had gone on for quite some time. Many of us probably had that same conversation in our FRGs, regional meetings, and the very, the most authority meeting spot, the bar at the conference. We were discussing amongst ourselves, what's the future of PASBA? Where's it going? What's the purpose? How are we going to stay relevant? Things are getting stale. So that as those conversations progressed, it came to the past presidents and the board level. So finally, the past presidents and the board got together, and led by Tony this year as our president, sought through the market to find help, because we determined it was not going to happen on our own. We were going to need help to determine this long-term vision. So they interviewed and researched several vendors, if you will, people to help out, and partners. After narrowing that down, the focus, the board decided to engage RLC, Real Leadership Coaching Team, led by Dave, the kilted coach, of course, Kevin Turnbull, and Dave's wife, Debbie Halls-Evans, which, as we all know, and I know in my firm, is the real brains and the power behind the whole thing. So that's how we got to that point. We realized we needed to do something now. We've been talking about it long enough. So that was about 4 months ago we engaged RLC. So then it was decided, Dave came up with this great idea that we need to get everybody together for a weekend. And of course, it was like, great idea, Dave. March, perfect time. Let's get 10 people together. That should be easy for a whole weekend. But we quickly realized we had to do it because the road that had gotten us this far was definitely not the road that we could continue on. We had to forge a new roadmap. And we were going to go all in. That's fine. We knew it. We decided a long weekend like that was in the books. This slide in particular, you'll see a lot of words on the right that many of us recognize. These words were compiled by Debbie. Listening, she took a lot of great notes. And what that came from one of the great conversations at the ranch. Okay, every time I say the ranch, does everybody hear doom, 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 doom? I do, and that's bad because then I totally lose track. But we had this great conversation immediately from the beginning on Friday evening. Dave was challenging us, and this was our concern, right? Oh gosh, this is really work. I thought we were going to get together and have fun. No, it's not. It's a lot of work. Dave would challenge us with questions. What are you doing? Why are you here? Why are you a member of PASBA? The big one is, why are you here? Why did you give up an entire weekend during tax season to work on PASBA? A lot of us got us thinking, why did we? We kind of knew, but he pulled it out of us. Why are we here? And I remember my answer as it went around the room. Thankfully, I wasn't first because I would have came up with something very poor compared to all these much smarter people than me. Why am I here? Well, I wanted, PASBA has been such an important part of my life, my family, and my firm for so long. We need to make sure it stays relevant. And not just relevant. We felt we need to make sure relevant just sounds satisfactory. We need it to be more. So I wanted to make sure that I can do whatever I can to make it more. And really, quite selfishly, I did not want PASBA to die. I would be afraid to drift apart from all of you, some of my very best friends in the world that I only get to see twice a year, but still some of my very best friends. We could not let PASBA die. And finally, one of the best conversations we also had that was about the growth of the movement. As Dave mentioned earlier, this year was the first time in a long time, if maybe ever, we suffered a reduction in the membership. We lost members. We're down membership. It's kind of foreign to us, right? We go through this in our firms. We're down on clients. What do? But Dave's right. Sometimes that's the best thing that could ever happen. I know it happened to me about 8 years ago in my firm. We turned things around and enjoyed the next 8 years, the best years of our firm's history. So we had to really think about that. What about this movement? What do we want? What do we want to be? What's the type of person we want to get together with? And it was a unanimous answer. We want to gather with a group of the most exclusive business owners in the area, in the country. We wanted to be with people that fit the movement. We want to be together with people that energize us. I want to come to a conference and be energized and meet with people that follow and fit into this movement and make me energized about my firm, about my business and my family, and building a rewarding life for both. We want to be the premier business accounting community. It sounds so simple, but yet so powerful when you really dig down. Premier business accounting community. And ask yourself, who would not want to be a part of such an organization?
Let's continue to ask ourselves, why is PASBA important to us? What does PASBA mean to us? And more importantly, why is PASBA relevant for us today? I, for one, can honestly say that without the blueprint manuals, the training that I have received from fellow PASBA friends, and the peer-to-peer support in the daily running of my business, I do not know where I would be. These are just 3 areas that I think make PASBA very important to us. The blueprint manuals: owner, manager, bookkeeper, payroll, sales. These books have been referred to as an accounting practice and a binder. The content of these guides come from years and years of experience and trial and error, so that we can save time searching and trying to find out how to do something and get busy doing it. Another item is training. This week, we'll all go home with notes on how to efficiently run our accounting practice. The goal is to work more on your business, not in your business. Sure, this is a large task, and we are still perfecting it, but I know each fellow member has my back so that I can accomplish my goals. And lastly, and most important, is the peer-to-peer support. Our members are the best. Whenever there's any type of need, no matter how great or small, from a crazy tax deduction to a natural disaster, and I know this personally, as many of my fellow Florida members do here in hurricane country, our membership is always there and always willing to help. It is a brotherhood and sisterhood that is unlike any other accounting organization in the country. Some of our standards of success, things that we take for granted, are the best in our industry. The way our offices are organized and the way we process client information are leaps and bounds ahead of non-PASBA peers. But however good these pillars are, the pillars of our success, teach, share, and learn, one thing is for certain, that we need to continue to modernize and leverage technology so that our member services are relevant into the future. We want to make sure that as part of our mission, we provide the tools, techniques, support, technology, and the blueprint that will drive our success into the future. This is why PASBA is important to us.
I've told it's still on and it's not. Okay, here we go. No, can you hear me? Okay. So next is our purpose, and our purpose is, thank you, to provide the members with the roadmap to be a leading practice in their community. That came up through some work we did that weekend. But if you've ever thought about PASBA's purpose, you may read this and you might think, isn't that what it's always been? Putting systems together in place to allow you to work on your business and not in your business? And the answer is yes. But we want to define it, modernize it, put it on paper so that all members are on the same page. We exist in a very competitive and ever-changing world, a world that is constantly changing, a world where we see things change every single week, a world where everyone is so busy and looking for ways to save time and money. But the member of PASBA, we're different. We're different from the traditional accounting firm. PASBA firms make a greater impact on those around them, their clients, their staff, themselves, and their families. Many of us contribute to the PASBA Community Online Forum. And we need to make sure that we're staying relevant so that everyone stays engaged in the forums. This is one of the easiest and quickest ways to get an answer to a question that we have. So we need to make sure that all of our members stay active on the online forums, as this is a significant value to our members. We also need to show up to regional meetings. There's strength in numbers. There's a great value to be had at the regional meetings, including obtaining knowledge and building relationships. But to get that value, you need to be at those meetings. So make the extra effort to go, show up, be present, and contribute to the conversation. The same goes for our financial review groups. There's immense value in those meetings. As a member of an FRG, make sure you take the time to provide good numbers for the stats. Complete any forms, documents, spreadsheets that your group asks for. And when you're at those meetings, be present. Not only do you receive value from the FRGs, but you also provide value to other members in your group. They count on you. It also goes for our conferences. So tomorrow's our Wednesday practice size day. It's time to talk with your peers. It's time to find out ways to be more successful. When you're attending these sessions on Wednesday, be present. Contribute to the conversation, but not too much, or you might get called out for that. At the end of the week, you're going to go home. Hopefully a little revived after some time on the beach, drink at the bar, or maybe just having time out of the office. But next week, you're going to resume your normal lives. Back to being with your family, running your practice, being an active member of your community, and associating in your own networks. And we want PASBA to help add value to all those areas. We want to help you be not just outstanding, but we want you as a PASBA office to stand out. So we really want people to know that and understand that our purpose has been and always will be to provide our members with a roadmap to be a leading practice in their community.
Thanks, Kim. And so let's pause for a moment and just ask some questions. If you've been a member who's asked the question, where is this organization going? What direction is it facing? What's the intention of the future of PASBA? I think already this morning you've heard some great insights that answer those questions. Let's now stop, though, for a second, and let's take a look into the future. And as we do that, and we take a real step into what might be possible in the next 7 years, we're going to invite up our two millennial forefathers, of course, the amazing Frank and Brent, to take us through what that future actually could look like. What I must remind you is what they're about to share with you isn't going to start tomorrow, right? It's going to start in 2 years' time. Barb's going to share with you what needs to happen first later this morning. So without further ado, let's pass over to these two outstanding gentlemen. They both have their mics ready. Over to you.
So I guess I kind of take umbrage about being called a millennial. You know, when we started in Kansas, I was a young 39-year-old, and now before you is a 40-year-old veteran of the Kansas 10. So Frank and I were tasked with the future ambition. So just like the seats, I guess we don't have that slide up yet. Just like the seats in this image, you will see the seats. Go. The seats in this image, we found that there were 10 areas of ambition that we identified as a group that we could transform over the next 7 years, each one benefiting the members and our clients. You have already heard today about the ambition to be a premier movement. This means we want to have an active level of firms with a target of 300 engaged and active members across PASBA initiatives. There was plenty of debate about the number, and it was agreed collectively that this type of growth retains the depth and the relationship foundation that makes this movement work.
The next one is our vendors. We currently have a very loyal and supportive family of vendors that have helped our organization all throughout our history. Over the next year, we are going to share with our vendors our new PASBA vision and build a network of new vendors that will work with us closely as well, helping us to solve our collective business problems. Technology. This one's big. We all know that technology is the way of the future. If you don't believe me, I can show you my 4-year-old can navigate her iPad better than most of you can. We have a lot of work to do in this area. In the next 7 years, we want to be the standard of embracing technology. PASBA needs to be the conduit between our members and technology advancement.
Service and resources. The manuals, the tools, and the blueprint and the resources we do not yet have need modernizing to be a fit for the future we want to build across the right tools for the movement.
Next one is education. The blueprint manuals have served us so well over the years. Modernize them. We need to make sure that we build upon them and bring them into the digital age. And we will accomplish this with the help of some vendors as well.
Conferences. The FRG meetings serve us well. It is all a brilliant cascade process for the members in the movement. Variances in style, we want there to be a blueprint for the structure so we can create an environment for accountability, but built around PASBA values and behaviors.
You skipped ahead.
Did I skip one?
Yep.
Sorry.
Conferences. As we grow, as we evolve, we want to ensure that our conferences reflect the way we manage, lead, and inspire our offices. Technology, structure, and innovation to our events is very important. Live streaming of this session is a great example of bringing technology to our conferences.
So we've already heard about regional FRG. We'll skip to revenue. Number 8, revenue. Our mission, our purpose, our vision will need money. We need to grow and attract the premier new members. We want to make sure we can advance our firms and others' capabilities. This takes time and cash.
Marketing. Just like in our own firms, we need to continually market our organization. We need to attract like-minded members who will be engaged, willing to share ideas, and help our organization grow. As I mentioned earlier, we also need to attract new vendors that will share in our vision and want to be a part of the PASBA future. Last but not least is operations. We are very aware that this is a volunteer organization. Many members have spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours giving back to PASBA. Appreciate all of your help. As part of the future, we will also look to lean more heavily on the PASBA central office. Jordan and Shelby will help us keep us in line, keep things moving forward, and hold us accountable to the plan we have collectively created. They already do a tremendous job for our organization, and we appreciate all of their hard work.
Put your hands together for the future generation of PASBA. Thank you very, very much. Now, there's a lot of big things up there, I'm sure you would agree, but how reassuring is it to know common problems you're facing today, this movement becomes committed to solving? What if you could help the vendors help you? What if you could find answers to the biggest and most common challenges in a CPA firm and a future CPA firm in this industry? Now, bring up the next slide, Jordan. We're about to step into the world of culture. And before Tom and Sean share this with you, I thought there's 3 things we could give to you as an idea, right? I talk about culture all around the world, and it's 3 things I've learned that stand me true in the way I do work. Got a way of taking notes? Write down these 3 words. Because I challenged the Kansas 10 to do these 3 words in how they looked at the culture within PASBA. And I want to just share with you that, number 1, culture is real when you define it. Without definition, it's just noise. what you've convinced yourself it might actually be. And your people will never know what that is unless you define it. Once you know what it is, you can then make it distinct. Really distinctive. In marketing and sales, you hear about unique selling points or points of difference. Why not make your culture one of those things by giving it distinction? And finally, why not use your culture, as you're about to hear, to help you make decisions? Now, I'm going to invite, of course, the magnificent Tom Bowman up. And as he shares with you the reason why we spent quite a bit of time capturing what makes the culture of PASBA famous, that he did promise us there would be no onions. So, Tom, over to you, my friend.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Good. Okay. So, yeah, amongst the hay and the farm animals, we talked about a few things relating to culture. We talked about our existing culture. We talked about the culture that we wanted. We talked about positive things in our culture. We talked about things that we needed to work on, things that Dave called stretch areas. Three of the things that we discussed was first our history, a great history. When I have great respect for the people that came before me that formed the nucleus for this PASBA organization. And when I think of that, I think of a few great names. Suckowitz, Torres, Simons, Modals, Rickoffs, Hastriders, Bush, Nolan, Mannings, Belters, Hamlins, and I'm sure I missed one or two. These are nearly all multi-generational firms that were there, at least when I began my journey with PASBA, which was over 20 years ago. The last person I want to mention as far as our history goes is a guy named Leo Lawson. Some of you know him, some of you don't. He was the founder of the comprehensive accounting organization that was really the precursor to the PASBA organization and was really the architect for many of the things that we still do today. So I just wanted to recognize him. The second area was our members. John said, where would I be without the help and friendship of my fellow members? I have a factor of 4 in work productivity that I think about, and I think if I would have joined PASBA, I would be, instead of where I am, I would be just one quarter of that is what my estimation would be. Some highs, some lows over the 20 years, adversity over the 20 years, but always help and support from all over the country. I don't think there's a state that I could go into that I couldn't call on somebody to help me if I needed some help, and I have needed help. So, what impact Blueprint had on my life from the early days of beginning to put this together, rubbing shoulders with the likes of the Hastriders and the Hayworths and the Bryants and the Fioris and the Belters and the Chappells. What a talented group that was, and I didn't feel I was up to that task, but I was there with them and learned along with them. And then what a profound impact Blueprint had on my practice as I took each of those PASBA principles and I adopted them into my practice. And I still have a few to work on. So we want to continue that, but obviously we need to update the platform for that, and we're working on that. And so we came up, as a result of all this discussion, we came up with 4 areas. Building wealth and transforming lives. How many people in the room can say that? I talk to countless people that this has happened to, including myself. If I could only pick 4 words to describe PASBA, those are the 4 words that I would pick. Building wealth and transforming lives. What a cornerstone concept for me and a lot of people. This does not work for us unless we make it work for our clients. My practice took a major turn when I realized this PASBA thing isn't just good for us, it's good for our clients. Timely financial information, tax planning, proactive business advice, timely tax returns. Who doesn't want that? That's really the essence of what we do. So we can't do this for ourselves unless we do this for our clients. So these are all things that we're working on as a board in our committees. And Sean's going to talk a little bit on Thursday about some things that are going to further that effort. Second is our structure. You're going to hear later from Barb about the work that we need to do in the next 2 years to become fit for our future. How we're going to work with our central office and our vendor partners to support and manage the change for the greater good. Third was our network. You know, our culture is built upon great relationships. Everybody's talked about that. How phenomenal is that? Kurt talked about all the great friends and all the things that have happened, and it's really, you know, probably the best thing about our organization. Very passionate about what PASBA has done for my practice, and I'd like to continue that into the future. Fourth is our leadership. There was a discussion in Kansas about all the things that need to be done to support this organization, to be moving it forward. And there was talk about the fact that sometimes it's the same people that are trying to do this. So in order to achieve our goals, we will need and are inviting more people to take part, be active, and get involved. As Kurt shared, we want to be the premier business accounting community in the country, and it will take all of us to get there.
Tom. Now, just before we hand over to Sean to share with you the other part of the culture, just take a quick look at this video. This video, hopefully, is going to show you how confusing and helpful language can be by how you translate it, depending on where you are coming from in the world. So, take a quick look at this.
Hier ist mein Sektor. Das hier ist das wichtigste Gerät des Küstenwächters. Das Gerät und das Gerät. Überlebensradar.
Mayday, mayday. Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you... Over. We are sinking. We are sinking.
Hello? This is the German Coast Guard.
We are sinking. We're sinking.
What are you thinking about?
And on that note, let's pass back to Sean Manning.
Thanks, Dave. So let's think for a minute and not think, right? What I'd like to kind of go back to a little bit is we have an amazing foundation. And a lot of you, I don't know you do this, I'll tell a little bit of a personal story, but I've been a member since, well, my father was obviously second generation, but myself, my first conference was in '91. So the foundation that we've established has created great value to our companies and where we're going. And so it was really important for me to kind of be a part of this just from a personal standpoint, because I really value everybody's commitment and vision for the future. And so this was a great experiment. And because I've been around for a while, can you raise your hand if you remember what the box was? Does everybody? So there's a few people that don't. What about the MR4 processing folder? Quite a few. Yellow card? Not as many, right? So language, we've learned a lot about language, and those were key components of this association over the years. Major impact on efficiency for our firms. What has changed is the technology. So today, language is made up of, you might jump ahead one slide if you want, of new terminology. So portals, remote entry, QBO, those are all the new terminologies that firms today have to be in line with in order to be successful. And when you really put it all together, the best example I'll give is when we do tax returns, we don't print anymore, but the function is still print. Hit print and output, you get to a point where it goes to your file cabinet storage systems, it goes to your portals, your client portals, and then it notifies your client. And if you're really sophisticated, it can even initiate the ability for them to sign their tax returns and submit that. So that's the technology component of what's going to make firms successful in the future. So we need to make sure that we're talking about it at as high level as possible and continue to advance our firms around it. And it's really, I know a couple of our vendors have stepped in, but our vendors will play a major role in our success in the future, a major role in the success of our future. So systems, I have to say, and this is where I'd like to tell you a little bit of a personal story, but systems are extremely important to the organization and sharing those ideas and helping each other be successful. Our accounting firm last year did $1.4 million in revenue with 6.5 employees. And if you do a per revenue count, that is probably one of the highest in the industry. And there are firms in this room that are better than that. That does, and a lot of you know that I'm not as involved in the firm anymore. I have a great team of people that helps manage that. But it has also allowed us to align into payroll services. I finally, after years, learned a lot from you and got more involved with payroll services. And our payroll service brand will do over $4 million in revenue. So a couple things to that. I think there's great value in payroll and systems. However, I think accounting firms today shouldn't do payroll inside of an accounting firm. So for you to be successful in the future, we finally migrated all of our payroll out of our accounting firm and became more efficient as a firm. And I know Alina's here representing our firm. We have more energy in our accounting firm than we ever had in the past like 5 or 10 years. So we're really excited about where things are going. And what that has done is open the door to new business services, consulting, which is a really hot topic today. And we really need to kind of upgrade what that looks like and educate ourselves and put in place technology that's going to help us serve that. So technology is a major component. And Tim kind of, this terminology of symbols, Tim kind of said it pretty well. A symbol is building wealth and transforming lives. Many strengths within this organization, and really one goal for all of us to be more successful and be really happier. To a level where we do have 300 engaged members, so really exciting. Real briefly, I'm going to go off script for a second. I want to thank the board, Tony, the president, for allowing us to go through this exercise. I did not know what to expect, but for everybody's kind of education, this group, and who's not here is Gary. Gary also, Hayworth, participated, so he couldn't be here, but we thank him for his participation. But basically what happened is Dave, Debbie, and Kevin guided us through a thought process. And that thought process, everything that you see in front of you, I know the pamphlet was just handed out, was created by this team of people in small groups, getting together, talking different groups, and presenting to each other, and evaluated by us as a team. So everything you're seeing was created by the knowledge base within this room and this group of people. So I really, really appreciate it. And I know you've been patient and haven't asked questions yet, but we will save time for that. But for now, I want to hand it over to Barb. Are we doing a video too?
I love that. So before we do this, let's prepare the next video, because some of you are probably not aware of this, that PASBA has its very own Simon Sinek, alias Brent Motel. So just before Barb gets going, I want to ask you to stop at this point. Sinek has to say about reflection.
What role has reflection played in shaping your personal growth?
The ability to look at oneself critically, to say to oneself, you were good in that situation, you weren't good in that situation, you could have been better in that situation. Not to be overly critical, meaning you're always at fault if something goes badly, or not to be so filled with hubris that you think everything you did was fine and it's always the other person, but be able to sort of separate yourself, to look at the situation from as if you were the third party, evaluating it. You know, when they do sales training, there's, it's always 3 people. One who pretends to be the salesman, one who pretends to be the customer, and one who observes. And then they all take turns, and the one who does the learning is the observer. So the question is, can you be your own observer? Like, can you replay a situation? And so self-reflection has been huge for me, and I've been huge into it for many, many, many years. The ability to say, okay, I can take some responsibility for the outcome of that, good or bad, and I can learn to do that again, or I can learn to spot those situations and avoid them in the future.
We pass to Bob. Of course, Brent is world class, our very own Brent Sinek at Reflections. So any tips you can ask him while he's here. And finally, if you're all wondering who Tim is, it was actually Tom. So back to Bob.
So about a year ago, I decided I was going to get fitter. So as part of this, I decided the easiest way to do this would do a 25-mile bike. Easy, right? It's not 100, it's not a 75, it's just 25. So I went out and I did all the fun stuff. I bought the bike, I bought the equipment, I bought the helmet, I loaded up the bike so that I had all the fun stuff. And then I had to decide, okay, now I've got to get to work. And I have to decide how I'm going to ride this 25 miles in 6 to 8 weeks. So I figured the first time I go out, I'll be able to ride 10 miles. It's not big. The bike's doing half the work, right? I don't think it's going to be a problem. I get down to where I think I'm at 5 miles, and I realize I'm 2.5. So now I have to make it home. So I make this decision that I'm going to turn around, and I realize I'm only going to ride 5 miles today. But the worst part of it is I've been going downhill the whole way. So now I have to ride back uphill the 2.5 miles. I make it home. Goodness. And then I decide, okay, 3 days down the road, I'm going to have to do this again. Well, now it's interesting because now everything hurts. My back hurts, my arms hurt, my bum hurts. But I do it, and I continue to do it. And I tell you this story today because I was successful. I did ride the 25 miles. I did have to push the bike up part of a hill. My next goal is to not have to do that. But I think for all of us, we need to understand that with success, there are road bumps, and there are things that we are going to incur that we can get through. We can still be successful. So in the next 24 months, we have a list of things we want to go through, and we just want you to understand there will be some frustrating times, but we're going to get through it as a group. We are all all of us are better than one of us, so we are going to get through this. So, Jordan, if you'll put it to the next. You've heard all these items before. Everybody else has brought these 6 items to the table, but these are the 6 when we were in Kansas that we determined were our strategic actions that needed to happen in the next 24 months. Modernizing education, making that digital, making sure that it is accessible to everybody and that it's easy access to correct or to add to, not necessarily correct. We obviously have great materials. We all use them. We just need to digitalize them. Marketing to new members. Part of marketing to new members to build our growth is that we need to re-engage our existing members. All of us need to be part of that in order to be successful. Outsourcing to DCI. We need to use DCI, and we decided that we need to use DCI in a format of our front office, not necessarily an outside person, but that is where everybody goes when they want to communicate with PASBA. Member awareness, we're here today. DCI is, and Shelby. Member awareness today is what we're doing for you today. We're making you aware of what we did for those 2.5 days, what our progress is, and what the steps are we're going to take. Vendor engagement, we want to engage our vendors, and we do have great vendors, which you've heard before. We want to take those vendors, and we want them to come to us and say, you have to do this. This is going to make your life easier. It's going to make you more productive, and work with us on training us on how to do that. And as Kim had talked about, aligning our meeting structure, making sure that when we are doing the regional meetings, the national meetings, the FRGs, the SRGs, all of those meetings are serving the purpose of our strategic goals.
Thank you, Bob. And hopefully that brings a bit of encouragement to everybody here today thinking, do you know what? What if we could genuinely have vendors who, for the first time for many years, come to you and say, if enough of you buy into this, we'll do anything we can to personalize the technology to help your firm become more automated and more technologically advanced. How exciting is just that by itself? Now, last but by no means least in the Kansas 10, we're going to invite up somebody who's going to use their name to influence you, the very convincing Mr. Vince Howard.
So before I start, you guys have no idea how difficult it was for the Kansas 10, a bunch of A personality type accountants, number crunchers, right, arriving on Friday evening to Dave and his group going, this weekend, you're in for a treat. We had to step outside of our normal box. We had to think differently. So I think before I start, if you guys would please give this group a round of applause. They did a wonderful job for that weekend. So while in Kansas, our conversation was really focused around the good, the bad, the ugly of PASBA. We had to think about the things that we didn't like, and that was a very hard list to come up with. We looked at the organization's strengths and the organization's weaknesses. We identified a number of challenges that were currently impacting the organization, such as technology adaptation and adoption, generational gaps, member engagement and involvement, and finally, modeling the right PASBA behavior. What were we looking for from our members? This reaffirmed to us, though, that the collective of the group was much stronger than the individual. So we know that companies around the world are beginning to place their customer or their client at the top of their pyramid, so to speak, flipping the organizational chart. Our members in PASBA are our clients. Our members serve clients. Everything PASBA does now and in the future should benefit our firms and our client services. So I read once that in life you get out of it what you put into it. If anybody saw the film Dead Poet Society with Robin Williams, he had a quote in that film to engage and inspire his students. And the quote was, "The powerful play goes on. Will you contribute a verse?" It's our individual and collective responsibility to be engaged. The PASBA structure depends on it, plain and simple. Teach, share, learn. You have to do your part. I have to do my part. The PASBA structure, the engagement, the willingness to share, our spirit, our ethos, and the being able to share ideas and put them into practice. This is why we're here. So in December, I attended a digital CPA conference out in California. It was eye-opening. In PASBA, I'm one of the larger firms. I went out there, I was a speck. Top 400 firms were at that conference. The interesting thing, though, they were sharing the same problems that you and I have here. The difference, they have 40 levels of management that they have to go through, though, before they can make a change. So one of the things that I brought home from that conference, I went to my team members and I said, the last thing I ever want to hear out of this group is to say that we are too big to turn the boat, that we're too big to adopt technology, that we're too big to change. If I hear that in my company, you're no longer on my team. We are never too big to change. We are never too big to adapt. We are never too big to progress. So this starts and ends with you and me. We have to do our part. So let's imagine a few scenarios or a few possibilities that might be spinning in your head right now. I'm 1 to 3 years from retirement. Who cares? This has nothing to do with me. I'm almost done. Don't you want to sell your business for the highest multiple possible? Don't you want to be relevant? Don't you want your business to be relevant? You still have work to do. You're not done. I'm new to PASBA, or I'm a small firm. I have nothing to contribute. It's the farthest thing from the truth. You guys have technology. You use technology that some of the other members don't or have never been exposed to. Consider teaching a class. Consider teaching a session. Share that technology. Share your processes. You may save another firm in PASBA countless hours by what you have or the knowledge that your firm has. This is, once again, the foundation of PASBA. Teach, share, learn. We're defined by what we choose to do or not do. This is your call to action. Time is now. Over the next few days, take time, reflect on how you can be a part of this PASBA movement.
Thank you. And as we just go back to the very, very first slide, because it'll dim the light slightly, if that's okay, Jordan. One last time to put your hands together for this group who've put together your strategy for the next 7 years. Please do give them a warm round of applause. We've got a little bit of time before we move towards a break, and we have a summary of this session of what's coming next to give you some explanation and some insights of what we're still going to do with you. Now, before I tell you about that, and I'd like to remind you on Thursday, those of you who are still here, who are going to be here for Sean's session and some of the other sessions that are here, into the future, consultancy, etc., and Kurt's closing address with John, where they're going to talk about one last time everything that's going on for you, the member. Remember, the member is, of course, at the heart of everything this wonderful organization does. We'd like to open the floor up for any questions that you have from what you've heard this morning. And let's do that right now. So we're going to coordinate with the glorious Jordan, who's going to help us with this. Are there any questions around the room from what this the Kansas 10 have done and prepared for you?
Okay, we've got a great overview of the 30,000 foot, right, or whatever. But what are our specific next steps on these 10 things we want to accomplish? What is the next thing to do?
Is there anyone on the Kansas 10 that would like to answer? Yeah. And good question.
I think that starts with the board, and the board to engage us in how it sees us, what those steps are moving forward.
And building on that, there is a list of tactical actions that came out of this very intense process that the board will be reviewing as early as tomorrow, along with a series of other suggestions to get the ball rolling. A major change for the organization, which I think you all would agree is quite an intelligent one, is to actually place this framework at the heart of how the board governs the organization. Now, you have to anticipate that will take a few times to start to learn how to do that, as we then flush through some of the detail of how to execute each of those projects. But it's a great question. Yes, Jordan?
Well, I think what I've heard so far sounds really good, and I'm like Tom, what he said about PASBA. PASBA's just been a really great organization since I joined 11 years ago. But one question that I didn't hear you guys answer was, so you say in 7 years we want to get to 300, not 300 members, 300 actively engaged members. And when we got less than half of that now, how are we going to do that? How are we going to more than double the number of actively engaged members in a 7-year period?
Here you go, Vince.
One of the things that was brought up at the meeting was there's different levels of engagement. There are some members that may only be actively engaged on the chat board. There's other members that will be engaged at conferences, et cetera. We felt like at this point, with roughly 200 members and really probably no more than 40% of that as being actively engaged, we want to continue to reach out to those strong members and pull them in. If we're not providing this overview and framework of how we see technology changing or how we see practices changing, they're going to continue to step back and stay in the shadows. So the transition is going to be long and painful. The transition to get you engaged or the populace engaged is not going to happen overnight. And some of you are going to go kicking and screaming, but that's okay. We're here to kind of pull you in and move you along. But I don't think it's going to be 300 active members here. It's going to be 300 members that are contributing in some form or fashion.
Yeah, Brian, let me add that, just a quick note. Hand it off. Actually, this framework, this success framework was presented to the board. It's the board's responsibility now to move that forward. There really isn't a whole lot of need for traditional committees and all of those details, and we have provided thoughts into how growth might happen. We've already seen some initiatives now, a live stream of this event. In next year's session, if we're going to do something similar, we could live stream it and make it available to the accounting community so they could see what we're doing differently. There's a lot of initiatives that we could put in place to attract the top quality talent that we want to have as members and to be involved. So even though there's some change that you see, and I think that that word's intimidating, it's really opportunity, vision, thought, that is going into the future. That's what I needed to see to stay a member, and now that I see that, I'm excited. So I see great value in what we can create.
And real quickly, Brian, that was one of the challenges I think Brent and I and Barb were discussing this number of members and the engagement and how we're going to do that. Get into real fine suggestions. Like Sean said, it's really going to go to the board, and the board's going to drive it. The suggestions came from if we engage the members and utilize the technology, build the member training, the members will come. And of course, leveraging them vendors. The vendors in the past, historically, have driven a good part of our membership. But we feel if we engage the technology, engage the member training, the new engaged members will just flock in. It's kind of like building our firms. If you do it right, you're going to attract like-minded clients. We're going to attract like-minded members. We're going to actively seek out members as well, unlike what we've done in the past. It's going to be more of a very concerted effort.
Hello. So if I was sitting in the crowd right now and wanted to become actively engaged in different things with PASBA, possibly the National Training Conference, even if I didn't think I had anything to offer and didn't know where to start, would it be appropriate for me to reach out to Barb Gay and offer to be on one of the committees or to help present?
Absolutely.
Tell me more.
You bring up the national meeting. I think you're going to see some changes this year. We are already trying to engage some vendors in doing some direct training with the bookkeeper and the payroll department. So we encourage anybody that wants to be on that committee.
I can add that as I said, when I started in PASBA, I knew nothing. I had a traditional accounting practice, and I got on a committee again with the likes of the Hastriders and the Hayworths and the other groups, and was able to contribute, but learn at the same time. So, Blair, absolutely, everybody has something to contribute, and I would highly encourage everybody to get involved in a committee and offer your talents and services.
And for absolute clarity, I have to say, Blair, you are sitting in the crowd. Question here.
For the owner manual, I already started doing the remodeling. I started late last year. I am about 70% to redo the whole manual, including a new binder. And I would like to be part of the group and see how we can get that to this year. But I've been working on that on the background.
Active member number 1 achieved. So are there any more questions? A quick time check before we look. How are we doing for time, Jordan?
Good. Get about 20.
Brilliant. Let's run over here.
I would like to know, obviously, the association is incurring some new financial commitments and those type of things, either through DCI or whomever. Do we have budgets, or what kind of financial commitments do we have, just to be transparent to the group as to what kind of cost is associated with it, and what kind of budgets and stuff do we forecast ahead for whatever we need for development?
We're just ACHing your account.
Thank God we just got through tax season.
Jordan, do you have the card machine ready for a $5 Board, anyone like to answer this? Sorry, Kansas 10. Anyone like to answer?
I don't have a mic.
There's been no commitment at this point. The board has to, really, this is a board question in their decision to engage in building the organization and tapping into resources. So a good question is, what do you really need? And then if we could have a little bit more feedback, we can go back and obviously it's not this group's decision, it's the board's decision. And look at what resources are necessary, see what value that brings to the organization. The bottom line is we have to look at things more from a return on investment, long-term value to our firms. How can we increase that? How can we position our firms to be stronger in the market if you want to sell? Jerry, the one thing you taught me many, many years ago was I was positioning to sell. We redesigned our firm so I can continue to own it and be less active, but play a key role in developing a great team of people that can help lead our organization. So ideas like that are important to me, and they don't cost money. They just cost our time and involvement. But I think if there's a need for investment, we will take a look at it, whoever the board is, and see how the organization is going to get its value out of that. So at this point, I'm not aware of any commitment from an investment standpoint.
And again, I think that we posed the question to the past presidents very early this morning around if you knew you could grow your firm, and let's be really clear, PASBA membership base, there are many offices who are in the smaller side of revenue and turnover, which means sales. What is the cash you're generating? And actually, you're grasping with, how do I get out of this cycle? How do I get to the next level? Some of the stories you've heard from these wonderful people this morning, the truth is, though, you need help to do that. And we want to make sure that by putting all of this, the right resources in the right places, we present the opportunity to give you a chance to really grow your firms and serve your clients better way into the future, and for, of course, the next generations of leaders and owners that are going to come out of this organization. So how much time do we have left, Jordan? 15, okay. So can we just very quick, sorry, Blake, yep.
All right, so as a board member, we kind of had a lot of discussion about this, and I want to answer a lot of some of the questions that have been asked and some that probably still haven't been asked. The biggest questions kind of went through ourselves were why, what, how, and what if. Well, why are we doing this? PASBA's kind of gotten a little stale. We've kind of haven't moved as much as technology's progressed, so we want to stay relevant. This really is our future, our own practices. This is us, our lives here. So we have to do something, otherwise, who knows what can happen. The what, that's what the Kansas 10 was that's what their task was, is to find out the what. What are the things we need to do? What are the goals we need to do in order to make sure that we succeed? The how is the next question. That's the hardest question. They had 3 days to figure out the what. We have 2 to 7 years to figure out how we're going to do that. As far as the budget, we don't know. That's what we kind of need everyone's involvement for, is to figure out how can we do this? How can we make those 10 goals that they came up with, how can we make that a reality? We don't know. The board, we're still working on that, and we need everyone's involvement to figure out how. But the last question was, what if? What if we didn't do this? Would we be the next Toys R Us that just collapsed because they were not ahead of the game or they were not following technology? We don't want to be that, so this is what we decided to do. So biggest question, how? Help us. We don't know. We're still figuring that out.
In a kind of a question, but also a response type of thing. Sorry, I'm over here if you're looking for me. I'm the Tom in the crowd. As you guys mentioned, this, or Barb, this is the first step, and we don't know what we all need to do to prepare in order to get ready for the journey that that your framework has set out. But I guess the question is, so have we thought about a model as to how we communicate both the thoughts here, but also the feedback from those that are listening and the questions that we don't think of while we're sitting in this room, but that we want to ask or get into the framework question marks. So I know the chat board is kind of our primary form of communication, but are we looking at any other potential resource or collection site or sharing of ideas?
For the next 2 days, we will each be sitting at a table at breakfast and lunch. So please join us, and please ask us and give us any of your any questions you have, any of your feedback.
And on top of that, to kind of delineate some of this information, like you said, we knew it was a lot to absorb today. We're putting together 7 to 8 videos that will be pushed out to the membership as well, that you can watch on your own time, and then also provide feedback as well at that time. So again, it's a lot to take in today. But again, we're really hopeful. Again, it's part of the new framework. We're pushing this out using better technology of videos and things like that. Oh, don't tell them that. That was the secret sauce.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, boy. No.
Now we have a question over here.
There will be homework.
This is exciting and fits right along with us as a vendor, our vision. But how do you, as the Kansas 10, envision the members engaging with vendors and our role as vendors helping this success framework become a reality?
Step number one here, while the Kansas 10 get ready to answer, is of course that we've made a commitment to help PASBA and help you to educate all vendors that are here on some of the details within this story, and to personalize it depending on what your vendorship is. And vendorship is around what service are you offering, what technology is it. So we're going to help directly with that by educating the vendors tomorrow when you're in sessions and giving them a chance to think about what does this mean, to talk through that so you can go and give your vendors time. What this wasn't about, just to be really clear on behalf of all of the vendors, let's represent them for a second. This isn't about saying to vendors, if you can't do this, you can't still be a friend of PASBA. That would be really incorrect. About saying to the vendors, this journey is going to take a while to get started because the internal stuff does have to come first. But on that journey, as being a long-term friend of this organization, let us help you get together and work out how we implement this. Because then the vendors can be really personal and really useful to everybody in the room. Does that make sense? Any other responses from the Kansas 10?
Yeah, we want to change the mindset from looking at you as a vendor to looking at you as a partner. Several of the other conferences that I've attended over the last year, the vendors are the ones that were presenting the new technology, the ways that technology could benefit the offices. And in a lot of cases, it got me thinking down paths that we weren't even exploring at that point. So we're going to throw some of that back onto our vendors' shoulders to say, you guys are out there. You see the technology. You're developing the technology. You need to be able to bring that into the organization and teach that technology to the group. So I would envision it as we move forward as vendors actually presenting at the conference, being an active participant, not just sitting in a room, manning a booth, waiting for somebody to come by and say hello and collect a card.
Great question, and thank you, Jeff. Brilliant. Elena?
I was going to say I've been to an event where the vendors have for roundtable discussions and participated in that. And then also they did things where they presented something maybe they were working on, and they asked for feedback. So whether that's what they're working on or they were still in development of that product, but they were having more of a discussion with the group instead of we're here to present about what we do. And that was really cool.
We're living in an age where API ability, depending on the software, is reaching incredible possibilities. Credit card that can access any one of my bank cards via technology that instantly sends me a picture of the transaction I just made without me taking a photograph. The world we're living in is evolving fast in a positive way. And it's giving the vendors the chance, those that do those type of things, or the vendors that aren't here yet that do those type of things, to be present in your business, to remove some of the data entry, the writing up, the hard yards that involves human labor, and making it more automated so you can be more efficient and, more importantly, using a PASBA phrase, improve your dollars per hour, making you and your colleagues more money, and your clients. So any last questions before we just summarize some of the things that are happening in the next few days? Let's jump in here.
Thank you all for your work and grinding out some clarity for our organization. And, you know, one of the questions, and all of this resonates with me very much, one of the questions I ask myself each day as I go into to do work and to go into the office is a focus question, and that's what's most important today? What's most important right now, even as an organization or a business with employees and multiple staff, or PASBA as an organization? We only have so much energy, so much capital, so much attention. We can, Brent, Frank, you laid out a wheel of categories and areas to put our attention on, put focus and energy and capital and money and resources. But I guess the question comes back to, what do you guys think is most important right now? Where should our attention land at the moment for immediate attention?
I guess I feel like the most important item on to focus on right now, it actually began right now, but I should say tomorrow, the board level. We need to reformat our board discussions, that the board format revolves around this framework, and that the board needs to be engaged and prepared to utilize this success framework and push it down to the members and push forward in the next 90 days. We do have some items, as Dave mentioned, very specific items on that to-do list in the next 90 days. But for me, the number one focus for us is the board tomorrow. But for you as the members is to be thinking about that, asking the questions, and being prepared for that information as we continue to grow. And when you leave here today, I hope your mind is turning like mine was when I left Kansas.
I would kind of go off separately on that and say that there's probably a certain subset of people in this room who don't think they have a voice, can offer anything of value. Blair kind of touched on it. You guys do have things that you can bring to the community. So we would, if you get nervous about speaking in public, there's other things you can do, but we would try to encourage people to speak up and get a little bit more involved, even if you're a little bit nervous to do so.
That's really good shout. So could we get ready for the summary slide, Shelby, with a very last slide that talks about, and I just want to reiterate two small things. The Real Leadership Coaching Success Framework product does a lot of things it says on the tin. One of them, it does present a really clear framework that'll help you make decisions. It'll help guide you on should you or shouldn't you do things. Do they sit inside the vision or within the framework or outside it? Should you put resource into it or not? So it does exactly that for you. And PASBA, you have that now. And yes, we are at the beginning. If you're sat there thinking to yourself, geez, how on earth are we going to do that? Could I just let you know that's exactly how you should feel today. That's the space we should all be in, because you've seen this roadmap that has some seismic challenges in it. Now, here are some things that are coming up. Those of you around on Thursday, let's work in reverse. Do come and see Kurt for the closing address and some more remarks around the future of this incredible organization. There's going to be group support post-conferences via all of the structures within PASBA, and of course, we're going to have those amazing video sessions that you can all watch and share with your teams. Now, of course, one of the reasons why Brent made his really clever comment about the system that we're going to invite you to use with us, it does track who does what on the system, right? Now, it's actually for no other reason, right? I'm as guilty as all of you at times, where you'll get something through you're supposed to do, you see it, you mean to do it, and something else gets in the way. Usually a client phone call or a client something, and you go and do something else that's also the right thing to do. And it's so that for the first time we can give PASBA the intelligence that says, yeah, okay, the members may be saying, what about all of this? But only 20 offices actually watched it. Because you've got to do the hard yards. You've got to click in and watch it through to the end and do your own mini commitment to yourself. More importantly, though, giving your people in your office a chance to see where you've been. And slow down when you get back excited about all the stuff you could do and say, hey, look, this is the vision of PASBA. And then we'll narrate it to them so that you don't have to do the work. It makes it a little bit easier for you. And finally, tomorrow, you've got the relevant times that Kim spoke about. Show up. And I really do hope in an environment where you preach the gospel of teach, share, learn, that the organization remembers once again, that means listen also. And everybody understands this collective is built on the importance of one, because you're stronger as a collective when the one is valued, and that's you. So, final time as we go for a break. Please thank the Kansas 10, and thank you from us to you for listening. Good job.
has worked in the field of digital marketing for over 15 years. He began his career with the e-commerce division of General Motors, and then began his consulting and speaking company in 2009. Since then, he has worked with notable brands such as Cisco Foods, Dale Carnegie Training, Cox Media, and the Dallas Cowboys. His latest book, Social Media Overload, became an Amazon bestseller in every business category. Corey's company, eBootcamp, employs a team of highly skilled digital marketing specialists who manage the social media accounts for over 40 companies around the world. Please help me in welcoming Corey Perlman.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You know what the number one most scary thing about speaking is actually doing the introduction, because nobody wants to mess up. You did a great job, so thank you very much. I know how stressful that can be. He came up, he's like, I want to make sure every word's right. I really appreciate that. Well, thank you guys for being here. It means a lot that you guys came in. I know it's beautiful weather out there. We're literally looking over some of the best beach ocean view in the world, but you guys are in here, so I don't take that lightly. So for the next hour or so, my job is going to basically provide you guys hands-on, real strategies that not only do I think will work for your business, but as he mentioned in that intro, you may have not caught it, I own a social media agency, and I've owned it for the last 10 plus years. So everything that we're going to mention, or I'm going to mention up here on stage, we've actually tested and proven with our clients. So the stuff that doesn't work well, I won't put in the presentation, and all the things that we're actually seeing results for, I will. A couple of things that always tend to come up right off the bat as people are kind of coming in, I'll just kind of do the quick FAQs. The number one question I get at every presentation I do is, can I have your slides? And the answer is yes, you can have my slides. You just have to wait till the very end, and I will tell you a way to get those slides. But seriously, there's no trick or anything like that. You'll get them. I just want you to hang out with me, obviously, until the very end. If there's any questions you can ask during the presentation, doesn't bother me at all. If it's relevant to what we're talking about and you think it'll be relevant to the group, I'll just make sure to repeat the question for the live stream. And hi, everybody out there in live stream land. We're live streaming, which is really cool and totally different than probably some of the conversations you've had in the past, so I'll make sure to repeat the question. And if there's any questions that you have that have not been answered at the end, I'll stick around for a little while afterwards, make sure that those questions get answered. All right? So here we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about social media myths, musts, and then a method to the madness. So I'll kind of give you a quick quiz on each of these sections if you think it's a myth or a must, and then I'll give you a method to the madness. So the first one is, should you plant your flag, meaning your business, your small business, on every social media platform that's essentially out there? Is that a myth or a must in your opinion? What do you guys think? Myth. Anyone think it's a must? You're stressing over it because I know it seems like a lot of work if it's a must. The answer is it's a myth. I absolutely agree with you that you don't need to be on every social media platform in order for your business to be successful. So what I want you to do is keep it simple. And what I mean by that is to plant your flag on a few of only the places where your customers and prospects are hanging out online. Meaning that we're going to talk a little bit about demographics for a second, but I'm going to give you the right to not plant yourselves everywhere and try to be a jack of all social media sites, master of none. So the first thing we're going to make sure that we do from this point forward is not get distracted by all the social media sites out there. Any ones that ever come up that you immediately hear about on the Wall Street Journal or your teenagers using or whatever the case may be, I want you to ask the questions, will this deliver business results? The best case scenario I can give you was a gentleman was sitting in a room similar to this about a few months ago, and a woman had asked me a question about Snapchat. Have you guys heard of Snapchat? You know, it's kind of the latest, greatest social media site. So I was answering her question about Snapchat, and this gentleman made this sound of frustration that I'd never heard before. He just blurted it out, and it was a little bit I almost felt like I was being messed with or whatever the case would be. So I tried to find a similar sound, and this is what the guy sounded like when I mentioned Snapchat. So when he did that, and I mean, this is a true story, the guy literally just, I mean, he sounded similar to that, but he like kind of yelled out, and I was like, what's going on, man? He's like, sorry about that, didn't mean to interrupt your presentation, I'm just frustrated. I said, well, why are you frustrated? And he said, because like, I feel like I just got a hold of Facebook, you know, I think I got my hands on LinkedIn, you know, maybe Twitter, maybe even Instagram, but along comes Snapchat, you know, and I got to start all over again. Like, why do I even bother? And I said, well, tell me a little bit more about your business. And he said, well, I sell medical supplies to the elderly. And so I was like, well, gosh, you know, I'm not sure that your market is there. I am in no way going to mention the age group of, quote unquote, the elderly, but we'll just leave it at the fact that I don't think your audience is on Snapchat. In fact, I am going to allow you, sir, to not be on Snapchat, you know. And he was just like, wow, all right, that sounds great, you know. And so it was a sort of that's kind of the premise for the book that you guys got in front of you there, Social Media Overload, which the whole premise of that is figuring out sort of what you need to be doing or why you need to be doing before you do it, so that you aren't like that gentleman who feels like you get all stressed out and flustered over a social media site that you don't need to be on. So let's look at a little bit of the demographic information. I apologize, my computer's back there, so I kind of got to aim it there. So just to give you guys an idea, and this has changed a little bit, but it's still very much you know, reliable in terms of the data here. This is from eMarketer, but essentially what this graph shows you is that the lion's share of people on Snapchat are ages 13 to 26. 13 to 26. Now you in this room have one reason to be an avid Snapchat user. Do you know what that is? You have teenagers. And I get it. Some of you have teenagers and you need to like stay on what's going on with them, hang out on Snapchat all day long. I totally get it. But from a business perspective, unless your demographic is 13 to 26, I would at minimum prioritize this to the very bottom. Does that make sense? So we got to start thinking about where our demographic is. I feel like if I do a certain dance move, maybe it'll work. Come on, big boy. Where is oh, there you go, thank you. So this is a snapshot of the different demographics of the social sites, okay? And I'm going to kind of give you guys a quick sort of you know, summary of what each of these are. So we'll start from the bottom up. We'll start with the big one, which is Facebook. That's one of the ones I do want you to double down on. It's got 1 billion users versus the rest of the social media sites out there that have millions of users, right? So very active. I think a lot of your accounting prospects and leads and customers are there. It's a very loud and noisy site because there's so much traffic there, but there's a lot of opportunity there, okay? The people who are not big fans of Facebook are the millennials and younger. They tend to you know, either dislike or not use Facebook as much these days, and so they tend to go elsewhere. One of the common places they like to go is Instagram. So Instagram sort of is less of the negative side of social. You don't see as many political posts. You don't see as many, you know, just general posts that either make people feel bad or whatever the case may be. You know, don't boo-hoo Facebook too much because do you know who owns Instagram? Facebook, right? So they're not complaining about people navigating or migrating over to Instagram. They're fine with that as long as they don't go over to Snapchat. So Instagram definitely is a place, if you're looking to kind of plant your flag and capture the millennials, kind of the future buyers of our industry, then that might be a place that you are starting to build on. The other thing I think about when whether, again, to plant your flag on social sites or not is whether they'll be here in 5 years. You guys remember, some of you might remember Periscope was a social site out there that's barely living right now. Another one was Google+. Remember when Google came out with their own social network and everybody jumped on it? Well, where is it now? As a social network, it's dead. So the thing that I think about is with Instagram and with Facebook is Instagram is backed by Facebook, so it's got that foundation to it. So 5 years from now, I see Instagram being a very viable platform, whereas Snapchat, and again, I could be wrong, you know, they could become, you know, connected with Twitter, let's say, and then all of a sudden there might be some more longevity for them. But I'm not sure Snapchat will be a viable platform 5 years from now. Okay, so just some things to think about as you plant your flag. Twitter, I see, so again, we've had clients in your industry for many years and other clients. This is a great information gathering site. It has not been a very good site for us for generating leads and business for our clients. So we like it for information, meaning that if I need to go find a really good article on, business tax saving tips or whatever the case may be, I'll run over to Twitter. But if I'm looking to generate leads and earn business, I prioritize this lower than Facebook and Instagram so far. LinkedIn is the B2B network. Those executives, every Fortune 500 company is active on LinkedIn. It's doing really well. Do you know who it's owned by or backed by? Microsoft, right. So that's another thing to kind of be thinking about in terms of the future of LinkedIn, but they're doing okay. And, again, executives, decision makers, people who during the business workday, they feel more comfortable navigating this site than they do Facebook. So if you're looking for a top-of-mind strategy and you're trying to get in front of buyers, that's not a bad site for you to plant your flag. So I'm letting you let go of Snapchat and maybe even Twitter, but I'd like you to take that time and resources and double down on LinkedIn. Make sense? I've already talked about Snapchat, I've already talked about Instagram, and then the last one is Pinterest, just another one to throw at you, and just a reminder, again, you gotta be thinking logically about some of this stuff. So how many of you are familiar with Pinterest? And I use this by purely an example, and 89% of the people just raise their hand are female in this word, and that is a common thing for me because that is dominated by females. Almost 85% is driven by the female audience, and it's like an online bulletin board. So when people are planning weddings or activities or birthday parties or whatever the case may be, they use this site to gain ideas and such from. So you gotta be asking yourself, as an accounting practice, as a tax practice, does that make sense for you guys? No, so don't worry about it, right? Makes you feel good. He dropped his pen. He's like, bam, I love it. See, that makes me feel good. Good for you, man. All right, so I literally, when my daughter's 5th birthday came up, I didn't see my wife for 2 months. It's a very addictive site, but from a business perspective, lower on the totem pole, okay? So we're gonna go Facebook, LinkedIn, kind of 1 and 2 neck and neck for you guys, and Instagram right below that. Fair enough? You guys good with that? I just prioritized your social sites for you. I did the work for you. Those are the ones I want you to double down on. So, method to the madness, don't be a jack of all social media sites, master of none. Instead, focus on a few and do them really well. All right, must or myth. If it's not generating leads, it's not worth doing. Myth, that's very good. That is a myth because there's a lot of different areas of results that we're missing if we're just focused on leads. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to give you guys some clear strategies on how to gain more quality leads to your websites and such. But if you don't do some of the other things we're going to talk about on here, you're going to lose those leads anyway. So you can lose a lead if your process is broken. So here are the other areas that I tend to remind our clients about why social is so important. So this is pure context right now. When you guys go back and you're like, man, do we even need to bother with social, blah, 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 I want you to think about this slide. Remember, you're gonna have these slides. And show this to your team because these are the other things you wanna be doing when you are working on your digital marketing plan. So strength and credibility. So you get a lead and then they go and check you guys out. They go to your website, they go to your local profiles, they go to your Google local page, all the places they go on the web before they call you. And they either make a decision about you. They're either building credibility with you or losing it. So I'm going to show you guys some ways on how you are potentially damaging your credibility. No one ever calls you and says, hey, I was going to call you guys and attempt to do business with you, but I couldn't find your phone number, and it drove me insane, so I never called you. You just never hear about it, right? So I'm going to show you those most common ways that you're losing prospects out there. Staying top of mind. This is a great one. So someone may find out about you in January, but they may not be ready to do business with you until the fall. How do we stay top of mind with them? How do we stay on their radar, right? I used to, in the book, you'll see, I talked about life insurance. I had a friend who was a life insurance salesman, and for years he was telling me I needed life insurance, and I didn't give him the time of day because I had no kids. Now, fast forward 5 years later, I got 2 little ones running around. I'm thinking, oh, snap, I got to get some life insurance, And I go to LinkedIn, and like that little squirrel, I totally forgot about that guy. I was like, okay, who do I know about life insurance? I start Googling the whole thing, but I jumped over to LinkedIn, and lucky for that guy, he had written a quote on LinkedIn. It was like a Dale Carnegie or some other quote. It was like a motivation quote, didn't matter. but oh, Steve, this guy's been begging me to do life insurance for years. I deserve to give this guy his, my business, and he got my business just by a social posting on LinkedIn. You see that top of mind, making sure that we're there when our people are in buy mode. Building rapport is a huge one. Are your clients just hearing from you when you need something, or is it invoice time? Or do they really feel like you care about them and you care about their family and you care about their business, especially the long-term clients? There's a huge opportunity in social to do that, and I'll show you guys how. And then the sort of the golden egg of social is earning referrals. You know, gone are the days. This is the part that I want you to never do again. But when a client shakes your hand and says, I just want to tell you, your team, since we moved over with you guys, has been second to none. We love you. It's made it easy. You know, the process is easy. I don't feel stressed over my taxes every year. Just love working with you guys. And you shake their hand and you say thank you and walk away. We can't do that anymore. You never let a verbal testimonial go unpublished. We got to get them talking about that on social, and so we can make it a lot easier for them and have that testimonial shown to hundreds, if not thousands of people when people are checking us out online, okay? So those are the reasons why we do this stuff, not just the leads. That's just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. So this is my method to the madness. This is what I would consider our sales funnel, and this is what we're going to go through for the rest of the time we have together. I'm going to give you some generating lead strategies. I'm going to give you some building credibility, staying top of mind, driving them to your sweet spot, which would be your office, building that relationship and earning referrals. And just keep this with you, and remember that any social strategy or even digital strategy that you use moving forward, if it doesn't clearly fit into one of these areas, at least ask yourself, why are we doing it? Because you don't need any more hobbies, okay? All right, let's go. So, must or myth? It's page one or bust on Google. That's a must, isn't it? When's the last time you went to the next page on Google? You guys know you don't do that. Most people don't. I used to use the joke that to be able to find Jimmy Hoffa, you just go to page 2 of Google. But most of the younger generation, yeah, they don't. Some get that, some don't. I'm like right on the so it works, as you can see, for a few and not others. But the bottom line is, just know that we got to really work hard to be on page 1 of Google. So here's the method. You can pay to play. That's number 1. Be all over Google Local Business, which I'll explain to you in just a second. Your title tag, which is the most techie tip I'm going to give you today, so be ready, get your coffees ready, because it's techie, but it's good. Write like your searches search. I was telling Don that just a moment ago, right, Don? We were talking about that. And invest in social. Okay, so first of all, I want to show you just a general Joe Schmo search. I typed in accounting firms North Dakota. I'm heading there after Miami literally this afternoon, so I threw those in there. And look what you see on the first page of Google. That first one way up there, and for those of you that are watching online, the very, very top, you can't see my little red dot. What is that? An ad. So Eide Bailey is paying to play there. So the question I get often from you guys is, all right, if I need to pay to play, when should I do it? My answer back to you, if you do a search that's a critical keyword search for your business and you don't rank on the first page, that's a great place to invest in Google advertising, because you can pop up right at the top. Okay, so if it's tax services, if it's accounting firm, whatever it is, and your specific location, and you are just not there, great opportunity to pay per click. And the good news is, the only time they get charged is when somebody clicks. Now, he had said, well, Corey, I'm getting a lot of leads, but they're not really quality leads. Well, I said, you might not be using the right keyword searches. So you want to really think about those. He mentioned small business owners, 300,000 or above, who are searching for bookkeeping services. All right, so we got to think about, we got to ask our clients, those who are those people, if you were searching for a company like mine, what would you search for in Google? And start asking that question, and what will bubble up to the surface are the words that you want to be focusing on, okay? So that's the answer to your question, Don. Okay? So that's paying to play. This area right here, you know what this is? The reason I tell you to focus so much on Google Local Business is because look at the real estate that it takes up on page 1. That's probably about 60% of page 1 of Google is the directory owned by Google. Does that surprise any of you, by the way? Not Yelp, not Yellow Pages, but the actual search engine's own local directory shows up at the top. It's shocking, I know, but that's the case. So prioritize, just like I told you to prioritize social media sites, prioritize directories, prioritize Google Local as your #1 directory to pay attention to. You're either winning or losing business because of this page. People may never get to your website because they saw something on here they didn't like. Okay, we'll talk about that, but that's a big part of the real estate. So laser focus on Google Local Business. Did you write that down? Google Local Business. Claim it, own it, manage it, be aware of it. If it's not you, have one of your team members. Ask them every month, how's our Google Local Business page doing? How's our Google Local Business page doing? Start that conversation every month. That looks like a very similar slide to the last one. You can go to the next one. Can you hit the next button for me? Thank you. There you go. Okay, a couple things to show you guys here. I did accounting services, Sarasota, Florida, and I did tax services, Dunwoody, Georgia. And I wanted you guys to get kind of an idea of what your prospects see when they do here. Again, the Google Local Business page showing up at the very top. What do you guys notice on here? What it was like a common kind of assumption, huh? The map, okay. What else? Stars, right? Don't you start creating an idea of the business? And so we all fear so much those negative ratings, right? I mean, it's a big deal. You see how much it shows. And then the other thing to mention too that I noticed when I did a lot of searches for you guys is Yelp does show up #2 a lot. So Yelp would be another directory that you would want to pay attention to because it shows up on search, not because somebody walked in your door and said, hey, we're Blue Pages, and for $4.99 a month, you can show up at the top of our listing. Well, everyone uses Google. Go to Google, and if they don't show up on page 1, ask them, well, why would I do that? Why would I do that? My customers and leads aren't searching for it. Why would I pay for it? Yes? The question is it because of the reviews that they show up on top? Not totally, but having reviews definitely seems to help. Nobody knows the exact rules of why Google ranks you the way they do, but having reviews definitely helps. Part of it is where they think you're located. Part of it has to do with keywords and such, but you got to spend time on it in order to start to rank, okay? And I'll talk a little bit more about these reviews in just a second. Okay, so remember that techie tip I was going to tell you? And this is one that, 1 second, I'll answer your question. Give me 1 second. This is that, and this also will help answer that question that you just asked. These are title tags. So what is the title tag? A title tag is the blue link that shows up on Google when you show up on Google. So let me explain that again. When somebody does a search and your listing, congratulations, shows up somewhere on the Google rankings, that blue link represents what's called a title tag. And the reason I find that so important is because you have complete control over what that says. So if you go to your website or your web designer and you change that title tag, then it will then eventually change on Google. Why is that so important? Well, just because you rank doesn't mean someone's going to click on you. Look at this example. So I did a search, again, for one of you guys, and you can see the different blue links. Read them. Abundant Returns :home. Tax Prep and Accounting, Dunwoody, Georgia. CPA Business Financial. Let's just use those two. Which one's clearer? The second one. Which one's more descriptive? Which one tells you exactly where you're going before you go? The second one, right? The location, what they do, all that kind of thing. So I want you, not now, but afterwards, as a sort of a takeaway, to go Google yourself and see what kind of title shows up. Is it more like #1 or more like #2? If it's more like #1, it's a simple fix. All you got to do is email your web person and say, please change my homepage's title tag to the following. I would include your city and state if you are locally based. and I would include the most common services that you offer, bookkeeping, tax preparation, whatever the case may be. You've got about 7 words. And remember to write like your searches search. Because here's the other kicker, everyone. You want to rank for some of these terms? Look, it's 9 out of 10 times those that rank have the same words that I searched for. So if I type in tax services Atlanta, Georgia, 9 out of 10 times in that blue link, the words tax services Atlanta, Georgia will be there. So also use the words that your most common prospects would use in a search. Am I being clear on that? You guys are thinking the way of a searcher here? Okay. Any questions on that? I know it's a little techie. It's downhill from here. Now you guys can put your feet up and relax, but this is as techie as I get. All right, that's called a title tag. Question yes? Do you recommend changing the title tags to all the pages? Sure, yes. It starts to, the return diminishes a little bit as the pages go down, but it's not a bad idea to do. Yeah, because imagine this. Imagine if somebody typed in, bookkeeping services, Portland, Oregon, and your specific page for your services of bookkeeping came up instead of your home page. That's because you did a specific title change like that, okay? Now, there's other factors. I want to be clearer with everybody. When it comes to Google searching, don't let anyone tell you there's an exact science, because none of us know that. But these are the things that we've worked on over the years that have made the biggest impact, okay? The other question I get on this a lot is, if your web designer, if you say to your web designer, please change my title tag, and they say, I have no idea what you're talking about, just simply fire that web designer and then hire one that knows what they're talking about. Because title tags are like elementary. We've been talking about that since like 2008. So in internet years, that's like 1,000 years. Yes? What if you have multiple locations? Put in the most common locations, or the most, the biggest locations that you have, because you have about 7 words. So maybe if it's 2 or 3, or maybe it's a county or an area, again, be descriptive. So if somebody's in a certain part of that area, but they're like, oh, I could use them, then you did a good job. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't have to be all of them, but try to do the most prominent ones, okay? Good question. And did you have a question back there? So the question is to pay Yelp for their services, and since we are live streaming, I'm not going to make fun of Yelp today that I normally do, but I do recognize that they can be very frustrating sometimes, and I'm going to go into the reviews in just a second. Again, because they rank so well on Google, and that's usually my reasoning behind something, if they rank well, then it's worth doing. If they rank well, then it's worth doing. And so what I've noticed by playing around on your search words and such is Yelp ranks pretty well. So if you're not showing up on their directory, you may want to pay to play there, okay, as an advertising strategy. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we're going to go into social in just a minute, but by posting heavily into social and using it a lot does lead its way into good search results for you. You can see here I did a hospice for Red Valley. It was a different industry, but it was pretty interesting to see all their Twitter posts show up at the top here. So of course, your LinkedIn company page, your Facebook business page are great opportunities for when somebody does a search for you. At minimum, you want your stuff to show up. The last thing you want to have happen is a competitor or something like that. So by investing in social and being prominent and using those same words I was just talking about, you have the ability to have your social profile show up as well. Okay, so what we've gone through, I'm talking about generating leads. So far, what those organic tips, those free tips, if you will, would be to get you kind of higher up on Google, hopefully get you guys some more leads. This is a pay-to-play strategy. This is so must or myth. If you don't have an advertising budget for Facebook, you're doing it wrong. Huh? Must. That's right. So 3 years ago, I would have said myth. But since Facebook became a publicly traded company, they have really downplayed the organic side of using our Facebook business page. So if you guys go and say, hey, we got a workshop coming up on tax prep, and you post it to your business page, nobody's seeing it. unless we pay money to Facebook. You guys clear on that? That's just sort of the way it is today. So let me give you guys a cool advertising strategy if you're needing to generate some new leads and new business through Facebook. Go ahead and click, please. So it's called lookalike audience. Just write that down, lookalike audience. It's really neat. I just want to kind of open your mind to something that you can do, which is really powerful on Facebook. So again, we're in that lead generating section there. You can give Facebook your current list, your email list, or whatever list that you have, and they will, in turn, create what they call a lookalike audience of people on Facebook with similar demographics. So similar age, similar geographical location, similar interests, similar potential income levels, all that kind of stuff. And then give you an audience to be able to advertise to that are not your list, but people like your list. That's called a lookalike audience. We do that a lot for our clients when they need to generate new leads. This is just one of the few ways that we do it, but I like this way a lot from Facebook. Did you have a question back there? What are they doing with your database? Great question. I have no idea. But hopefully nothing. They're not supposed to. If Zuckerberg were up here, he would probably say nothing. But, so just, buyer beware. So what does it cost? It's a cost per click strategy, so it could be anywhere between 50 cents to $1 per click. And it would, again, only be per click. So you would only go when somebody visited your website. Okay? But again, I share this with you as a way, I promised you a strategy in each one just to be thinking about of ways that if our clients say, hey, we got to up our leads, this is one of the ways we like to do it.
If I did this, I'd want to narrow it down to just my tip-top clients, right? So how many do you need to have to be able to generate it?
You can. There's pretty small minimums there. You'll have to check that out. I'm not sure exactly what the small one, but you can segment your list just to the quality leads that you want to use that so that they try to create demographics. The other way you can do this, by the way, is you can create your own lookalike audience by simply going in there and doing this yourself by the demographics that they offer you. So you could create a Facebook ad with a specific location, with a specific age group, with specific interests, male, female, lots of different things like that, okay? Interests that they've used, things of that nature. Okay? Okay, so method to the madness. So that was generating leads. Gave you a couple tips to get some new leads. Let's go to building credibility. You can go to the next slide. Oh, new clicker. Try that. Might just be a directional thing. Yeah. Yeah, you're right in the middle. I'm laser beaming you. There you go. Must or myth? Websites are a thing of the past. Myth, that's right. People are still looking at our websites. Trust me when I tell you that it is true that every day people are still losing business to a crappy website. There's no doubt about it. So don't wind up on websitesthatsuck.com. Now this is an actual real website. There are lists and lists and lists of really bad sites here. And what I did was part of my homework for you guys is I actually went through every one of your websites, and I'm about to show you what I would consider to be the number one on the websitesthatsuck.com website for this audience. Are you guys ready? I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that to you guys. Who thought it might be them, though, right? I wouldn't do that to you. I promised Jordan, I'd lose a job pretty quickly if I started doing that to you guys. But I did look at all of your sites. That's not a joke. And I did see some neat room for improvement. So I'm going to give you all some common website mistakes that I saw. But if you see your website up here, it's because I'm praising it, not criticizing it. Okay? Fair enough? All right. Oh, you're doing it for me again? All right. So you remember this kind of website? Kind of the old school 800 by 600. But what do you immediately see when you see this site? Like the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of us is that's dated. It looks old school, right? That's a word that comes up a lot when people see websites like this. That's not really what you want as the first feeling or thought when somebody checks out your website and they go, ooh. I mean, ooh is not really the best first impression that you want to give off. So the good news for you guys is you don't have to razzle dazzle. Your industry does not have to blow the doors off of your visitors with an amazing looking website. It's just got to do the job and not just, embarrass yourselves or anything like that. So a modern WordPress site, you may want to write that down if you're not sure. A modern WordPress site will get you that. Okay, WordPress is sort of the go-to website platform of choice these days that web designers use. And very quickly they can use themes that will show you that you'll immediately see beautiful sites that you can see. So this is an example, and again I've shrunk it down a little bit for the screen, but this is obviously one that's totally changed your perception. All right, this is somebody in the room here. Where are you at? Okay, these guys. So you use the entire the entire screen, which obviously you can do nowadays. And of course, we're going to talk about responsiveness in a second, so if you shrunk down to a smaller screen, it may change up. But you want to use, more of these sort of flat screen type of looks to it, so it makes it more modern. And then very high-res photos always does the trick for making people feel like they're on a modern site. So beyond just looking modern, we want to have responsive design. And if you haven't gotten anything yet, your industry, I'm just so happy and so proud to be with you guys today, because for the last 8 years of speaking on stage, I've used you as an example, kind of made fun of you guys, and now I get to do it for you in front of you, which is crazy, which is the critical information above the fold. A proper opt-in strategy and high-res professional imagery, which essentially I've already talked about. So as I kind of go through some of these examples, I'll mention one of the things. So we'll start with responsive design. And so what I want you guys to think about, again, at the break, but this is how you know it's responsive. It's if somebody goes to your website on a cell phone or on a smaller device, they can navigate your site with only their thumb, never leaving their 4 fingers off of the phone. That, to me, is a truly responsive site. Does that mean that all of yours are not responsive? No, but that means that there might be rooms for improvement. I know that I've looked at some pages in the past where the whole site was mobile responsive. They're doing this, they're clicking here, they're navigating, and then they clicked on a register for a workshop, and it took them to like a third party or whatever, and all of a sudden, we're doing this stuff again, and we gotta, squeeze in here, and I gotta, whatever, and now it's not responsive. So the trick for you to just always know is if someone can easily thumb through or navigate your site with their thumb, then you're responsive. That's good. If they have to do this, the dreaded this, then you got some work to do, and you want to be as mobily responsive as possible. If you're not mobile responsive at all, and literally the page it just looks like that but on a smaller device, you actually can get dinged by the search engines now. They so don't want, that's such a bad thing for websites to not have at least some sort of responsiveness that you can actually get penalized by the search engine. So at minimum, make sure that the site changes up to so the links are clear and it's more of a vertical flow than a horizontal flow. But if you're already there, go through the site. And if there are pages that are just not easy to navigate your thumb, work with a website designer to get that more responsive for your clients and your prospects, okay? That's responsiveness. Critical information above the fold. So what I want you guys to think about is what are the most critical pieces of information that your prospects and clients, essentially your website visitors, are looking for, and don't make them scroll. So one of the things I did like up here about this site is you guys have your social icons at the top. And the other thing I liked about this, if you guys notice, this is a little bit of a ninja tip for you, but they only have the ones that they're actually managing. Do you ever notice when there's like 6 or 7 of them up here, and 3 or 4 of them you guys have nothing to do with? Why would you want to take them to another page that you're not actively managing? What a credibility buster, right? So don't do that. Remove the Google+, the Twitter, the Instagram, or whatever you're not managing, and only put the social icons that you've got a good thing going on, okay? Let's switch to the next slide. Okay, so whose site is this? Are you in here? Huh? That's you. All right. So it's good you're in here, because I'd have made fun of it if you weren't in here. I'm glad you're in here. It's good. No, this is a good site. What I liked about this is the critical information. This is where a lot of you are missing. This is the part I was telling you about. This is the part of your industry. But I always tell people, like, whenever I go to my accountant's website, especially as a client, if I ever go to my accountant's website, what do you guys honestly think I'm trying to do, especially as a client? I'm trying to find your phone number to call you. There's nothing on your website that's going to help me. Like, I have a specific, I am in Tahiti right now. I'm trying to make this a business expense, whatever. You know, so give me some obvious, so I look for your phone number, your contact information to be at the top of the screen and easy to find. And lo and behold, if I look at 6 of 10 of your websites, I can't find the phone number. So put that up there. Make it easy for me to contact you. And other critical pieces of information. What are other critical pieces of info? I liked schedule an appointment he has here. I like that. Download your client organizers. You know, these are really clear buttons that are obviously very important. Critical information right here, okay? But don't make them scroll for critical information. So this is what I call, this is a pop-up. This is an interrupting pop-up for collecting information, because it is important for us to collect people's information before they leave. Because if somebody comes and checks you guys out and then they leave without giving you their information, you can't stay top of mind with them. You can't stay connected. You can't email them with good information and all that kind of stuff. But how many of you like interrupting pop-ups? Not a hand goes up. But you know what the problem is interrupting pop-ups are highly effective in terms of collecting information. So I figured out the best of both worlds. This is called an exit pop-up. So what that means is people are navigating your site, and part of the reason people hate these so much is that they interrupt at the wrong time, in the beginning or in the middle. This is an exit. So as somebody's about to leave, it says, wait. Before you go, here's a free report on 6 great tax-saving tips that'll save your company, thousands of dollars or something. Whatever you guys want to give away in exchange for my email address. But do it at the end, right when they're about to hover over that X box and it pops up. That's called an exit pop-up. We tend to see that it works pretty well, better than the ones that are just sitting alone there, and way better than the ones that come in the beginning or in the middle. Okay? Okay. Must or myth, you should focus on getting positive reviews to any of your online platforms. Must. So I go back for a second to some of those pages that you guys saw, so those stars, and what we always think about is, God forbid, if we were to get a negative review. Man, I just hope one day we don't get a 1-star or 2-star review. And I would challenge those thoughts, because in this day and age of the internet, you're bound to get a bad review at some point by a crazy client, or someone that you guys just can't seem to be able to help, right? Or even if it's some sort of error. So instead of focusing on the negative, I want you to focus on the positive, and that's where I was talking about those positive reviews. So where am I talking about? Directories like the Google Local Business page, Yelp, and any others that you're focused on, and your social channels like your Facebook biz or your personal LinkedIn page. These are the places that we want to be proactively getting positive information from our customers and our clients, okay? You can win or lose business before they ever get to your website, and here's a good example of that. But the one thing that I want to give the benefit of the doubt of the Jackson Hewitt here, if they were here, and this is not a pick on any of these guys because any of us can get it, but they only have 1 review, and they only have 2 reviews. And so if one of them is bad, it's going to give you an average of 2 stars. But these guys have 165. Imagine if somebody goes in and gives them a 1-star review. You know what's going to happen to that 5-star rating? Nothing. It's like impenetrable. All right, it'll stay up there because, and again, I'm not telling you to get your sister or your cousin or your nephew to review your business. I'm just asking you to get your happy clients to review your business. Does that make sense? How many of you are proactively asking happy clients to review you? A couple of you. Is it working well for you guys? How do you ask generally? Like, what's the process?
Usually after they give me a compliment, I ask them, well, would you mind going on Google or Yelp and
You just verbally ask them, Google or Yelp, to give them a review. Okay, anything different to add? Yes, and also give them $100. You also give them $100, and he bribes them. Did you have something different?
We do a survey, and if the survey is negative, we want that, we want to know that. If it's positive, we then point them to whichever one we want, Google, Facebook, Yelp, and go from there.
I love that. So what they do is they do a survey, and if they get bad stuff back, then they try to address that offline, so to speak. Yes, not publicly. Right, they're venting them not publicly, but on a survey. But if it's positive, then they send them a link to the Google review because you sort of filtered out the bad and only the good. I like it. Like it, like it, like it. And of course, you see here Yelp again showing up on this review site. So the method to the madness here is asking your clients for positive reviews. Timing is everything. So ask them as soon as you know that they're happy. And that's just, as time goes on, we get less motivated. Let them know the channel you'd like. Many of you have said Google, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit before we close today about LinkedIn, and that's, I think, a great strategy for some of you. If I were deciding whether to work with you guys or not, I might come and check out your LinkedIn profile, either your company page or your personal profile. So if you're good on Google reviews and Yelp reviews, maybe ask a client to give you a LinkedIn recommendation. So choose the platform that you want them to post a review on. Give them suggestions. So the hardest part about writing reviews is knowing what to say. So if you say, hey, I really appreciated the compliment you gave us, and thank you for agreeing to give me a LinkedIn recommendation, here are just a couple things you may want to mention that would mean a lot to me. Worked with you on your situation, our timeliness, whatever the case may be. And then sincere thanks in advance. And I think this is an important one, just to remember that if you just send out a Joe Schmo email, you might get some. But if it's somebody that has got some clout, and it's somebody that loves you, get on the phone with them and just say, I got to tell you, I heard this strategy from this little nerdy guy with curly hair about getting positive reviews, and you're the first one I went to because I remember what you said, and it's never left me today, and it would mean the world to me if you would post this on Google, and here's $100. Now, don't do the $100 part, but yeah. But be sincere about it, and I think that'll help. People are more motivated to review a business when they're unhappy than when they're happy. So we got to proactively ask and motivate them when they're happy. That's just the bottom line on the internet. So just remember that. Okay, let's talk about your LinkedIn profile for just a second here. Since we are on the credibility side, I want you guys to think about a few credibility busters on your LinkedIn profile. This has changed up quite a bit since maybe the last time some of you have navigated to LinkedIn. As you can see, when you go to a profile now, the professional photo is front and center instead of to the left. So that's just a reminder to you and your employees that professional photos matter, especially on LinkedIn, especially if prospects are coming and checking it out. If you have just a bunch of employees with just random headshots, get a professional photographer to come into the office and do a headshot day and get them up on LinkedIn. Okay? And then have somebody create some cool background photo there. We do all these background photos for our clients. But these mean a lot too. I mean, you guys can see the difference a little bit as you're starting to kind of, kick the tires a little bit of the people you're about to interact with. It's not going to win you the business, but it certainly helps. It certainly builds the case that you've got a professional organization. The other thing that I look for on a good be proud of your profile is just make sure that you're building your connections. And this is going to help in a lot of different reasons that I'm going to mention in just a second. But if I go to your LinkedIn profile and you have 12 connections on there, at minimum it says to me that you're obviously not active on LinkedIn, which for some people might be okay. For me, or for some other people, especially maybe a little bit of the younger generation, it's like, well, gosh, are they not connected? I mean, are they moving out of the business? Are they retiring? Like, what's going on here? It's not going to help. So be active on building your tribe on the places that you have personal profiles on. You don't have to have 10,000, but have a couple hundred. Okay? Yes? Yeah, the question is about when you're getting requests or whatever, should you accept them or not? And my recommendation is always quality over quantity. So if you don't truly know them or they haven't taken the time to write you a personal message saying, hey, it was great meeting you at CNC networking event, whatever, blah, 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 then it's perfectly okay to not say yes. I would prefer quality over quantity. And there's a couple of strategies towards the end here that I'm going to share with you that if you have a bunch of connections that you don't know, it doesn't help very well. I'm just checking time to make sure that we're okay. So as I mentioned, professional headshot, background photo. One thing I didn't mention is a professional summary. There's a few lines that you saw on the screen before that you have to describe like who you are and what you do on LinkedIn. And let me give you a best practice on that. Unless you're looking for a job or unless your employees are looking for a job, this needs to be a professional summary of how you can help me and not a bio of you. Does that make sense? So most likely, if you are in the position that you're in, when people are checking out your LinkedIn, it's to work with you, not to hire you. So it's more how your tax services can help me, how your accounting business can help my business. Do you set up 401k plans? What are the other ancillary services that you guys do? That's what I'm looking for in your professional summary. Not what you did 25 years ago and all the different awards that you won, unless it builds clout for your credibility, which is okay, but try to make it a benefit-rich summary of how you help your customers and clients, okay? Went back one time, sorry. One other thing I didn't remember, okay, so going back to those reviews for a second, quality recommendations. So asking your clients for recommendations, specifically your clients. I don't want to see recommendations from Aunt Sally about how amazing of a person you are and go Broncos or whatever the case may be, but more like business related. They took over our accounting services back in 2013 and we haven't looked back and here's why. Bam, 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 bam. That is going to sell me on why to do business with you. Okay, now you can go. This is a LinkedIn company profile. Just write that down as a reminder to you that your company can have a LinkedIn company profile, not just your personal profile. And it's very important to have one. The good news is you don't have to manage this daily like you might have to a Facebook business page, but it's good to have professional photos on there, a nice summary, and have all your employees connected to it. Because the bottom line is companies can check it out and see some information about you guys there. So you can have a personal LinkedIn page and a company LinkedIn page. Okay, so we have talked about generating leads, which is organic SEO on Google, some Facebook ads. We talked about building credibility, your website, those reviews on those local directories, and your LinkedIn profile. Let's talk a little bit about staying top of mind. You guys are doing great. We're getting down to the home stretch here. All right? So content, it's kind of a big deal. This is probably the biggest challenge that we have in the social media world to getting it right or getting it wrong is the type of content that we produce on social. And it's really challenging because the problem is if we just put Joe Schmo content out there, it doesn't move the needle, it doesn't work. So I'm going to give you guys some best practices here on how to get a little bit more engagement and such from some of the content that you're producing. So one of the things that we do in our agency with our clients is create a content calendar because it helps not only the writers, but it also helps you, a lot of you who are thinking about the content or helping us figure out the content. It puts us all on the same page. So on Monday, this is just a random example, so don't jump on me too much on this. Monday might be Community Monday. So that might be all about your local community. And then Tuesday might be Testimonial Tuesday. So we all know on every Tuesday we're going to highlight a client of ours that has given us a testimonial. That also makes you guys more proactive on getting testimonials, by the way. WTF Wednesday, I will explain what that means in just a moment. Thank You Thursday might be an opportunity to thank either clients or partners or whatever, but just an opportunity to share some love to someone else on social or another organization. And then Friday, because we're already kind of skipping into the weekend, maybe we offer a little bit of humor, because there's a lot of humor that you can find in the world of accounting and tax preparation. that, you know, you can play with or share or whatever the case may be, you know, and just sort of have some fun with your tribe online and not be so serious. Your jobs is to kind of humanize the brand. Make us, you know, your industry can be a very kind of like formal, robot, kind of stuffy industry. And so if you can figure out a way to bring some light in or levity and humanize your business, then I think that's a big help, especially on Facebook. So this is just an example of something that we've done for Community Monday. This was the 10 state parks near Seattle with cabin rentals. This was just as summer was coming in, a post that one of the team did. We can go through this kind of quickly. This is Testimonial Tuesdays, so this is what we did with Campbell and Brandon. One of the things that I will remind you of, especially on Facebook and Instagram, is we try to make testimonials into like more of a visual looking piece. So we'll pull out, you know, a certain part of the testimonial that's the best part and share that with the logo and all that. So we try to make it as visually appealing as we can, not just a written testimonial that no one will read. Okay, so WTF Wednesday means what to film. And I'm going to talk about this in depth in just a moment, but I want you guys to start thinking of and remember that, you know, social media is becoming a video-first platform. And so we need to be thinking about ways that we can start using video more in our content. You know, written blogs are they're kind of going away a little bit, and the substitute for it is video. Now, the good news is it's not completely that way, and it probably won't be for a while, but video's definitely pushing written content out of the way pretty significantly. And so we need to double down on that. And if you're not sure about that, just think about how Facebook's using Facebook Live and how you guys are seeing some of that. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Thank You Thursday. This is us congratulating another client or partner of theirs for an award. Go ahead and go to the next one. And then Friday Funnies, brace yourself. Tax season is coming. That's that's Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones thing. Okay, really not that funny. Okay, good to know. All right. It was the first one I found. Leave me alone. So CEO Mark Zuckerberg has repeatedly made clear his intention to transform Facebook into a video-first platform. One executive went so far as to say that the app will be all video by 2021. Just a reminder to you guys what I just said. So Facebook Live. Let me be just very clear with you guys what Facebook Live is. So how many of you, by raise of hand, have been navigating Facebook over the last 6 months or so, and all of a sudden Facebook alerted you that one of your connections was currently live? Raise your hand. Look at it around the room, everybody. He turned that off because it gets annoying. But Facebook's doing it. You see that? So the one way to look at it from a user perspective is, man, that is annoying. The other way to look at it from a marketing perspective is, aha. So if I'm not getting a lot of engagement on my 5 greatest tax saving tips, maybe I should do it as a live video because I might get more engagement that way. Because literally Facebook is promoting Facebook Live. So just be thinking about that. Now, let me just be abundantly clear to you guys. If you go back to your offices and say, I have decided that we're going to do a Facebook Live and share some valuable tips to our audience, just be clear that when you press the button live and you start to record the video and you're like talking and you're like, you know what, this isn't going very well. Let's start over. You can't do that. It's live. That's the whole premise of it, that it's live. So they're seeing it. So that's the negative sort of downside to live, is that you got to kind of be prepared for it and you got to roll with the punches a little bit, okay? And some of them you guys have probably seen that didn't go so well, and some of them do. So just keep that in mind. But here's one idea that I had for you guys, that if you decided to do this, you could do it. And it was, you know, the tax tip of the week. This might be like an episodic type of thing, like a series. You'd give one quick 2 to 3 to 4 minute tip that will help me or my business save me some money, or at least be thinking about that in some form or fashion. You can divide and conquer. It doesn't always have to be you. It can be somebody on your team or on your staff. Okay, so you can mix and match. Our clients do that all the time. You can have guests, and you can have more of a, nowadays on Facebook Live, you can interview somebody. So maybe one of your clients, and you know, you can give them some love and talk about their business. I call this newsjacking, so things that are happening in the news. So, you know, the big tax plan change that Trump has done, and everybody's wondering how that's going to impact our business. That's a great opportunity for you guys to swoop in, you know, like, at it. So, you'll never forget that for the rest of your life, that generally speaking, now there are exceptions to the rule, but if you are, shooting video and you've decided to go live right now, just flip it horizontal and do it before it goes live. You'll see the screen change. But what I've noticed some of our clients do is they'll do it midway through and then you're sideways the whole time and it doesn't work. So turn the video first. You'll see it look correctly before you hit the live button, okay? So if you guys decide to do that, you can syndicate to keep your sanity. So whether you do live video or you have somebody posting on your behalf, one of the low-hanging fruit for you guys, this is on the top of mind strategy, is to use the content that you're putting on your company sites on your personal sites as well. So let's just say that you guys either shot a live video or you did the 5 tax-saving tips or whatever the case may be. Go ahead and go to the next screen. Go to your LinkedIn profile and share the tip as a status update. This is a big one that a lot of us miss, but we spend so much time directly connecting with prospects and clients, but then that's all we do. And there's no way to stay top of mind with them. But I just want to show you guys something. Look what happened when I went to LinkedIn this last time. Look at how much Radia and Marilee, so this is Radia's post and Marilee shared it, but look how much of my screen it takes up. This is somebody who just simply posted something on LinkedIn. Essentially, this could be you. If this was a tax-saving tip or anything else, just let your mind be creative here, but that you are putting into your routine on a day-to-day basis to be posting onto LinkedIn, your top of mind strategy is going way up. I'm seeing more of your stuff. I'm not seeing all of your stuff because anyone who's posting to LinkedIn right now, none of us are seeing it because we're all up here. But over time, people are going to see your stuff, and that's one way to stay top of mind with clients and prospects. We actually, because some of our CEOs just don't have time or executives to post on LinkedIn on their personal page, we'll actually do it for them. And they compliment us all the time about how, they had, Stephanie Smith mentioned the article that I wrote recently and blah, 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 blah. So they really like it. Another way, while we're here, to also stay engaged with your clients and prospects is to like their stuff, to interact with their stuff. So let's just say you have a proposal out to ABC Business, whatever, and you're on LinkedIn and you're navigating and you see a post from the decision maker there. If you like or share or comment, they will see that. And most of you probably at some point before have seen an email come from someone very recently after you engaged a post of theirs. It's a way for us to jump back on someone's radar. I had a prospect of mine that we had sent an agreement over that we hadn't got it back yet. And again, I was navigating LinkedIn and I commented, "This is an awesome post, thank you for sharing." And 5 minutes later, I had the agreement in my email, not because of any other reason than they were planning on doing it anyway, they had just forgotten. And this was more of a reminder strategy. Okay, so engage with your connections posts and make sure you're posting content on LinkedIn. And if you're looking for stuff to post, oftentimes you can take stuff from your company profiles and your business page stuff, okay? Any questions on that? Okay. So another method, okay, so these are the last 2 strategies, and then we're going to wrap up. This is strengthen relationships and earning referrals. So building rapport. This is something that means a lot to me and a strategy that I've used a lot over the years, and I highly recommend it for you guys, especially if you have what I call VIP clients. Like some clients or customers you have maybe once, and they spend a little bit of money with you and you never see again. This would not be for that strategy. This would be a more long-term strategy, long-term client, that type of thing. But it's really important for us to build rapport with our VIP clients. So the 2 ways that I do that are connect and engage, as I mentioned, with them either on Facebook or LinkedIn. And I just want to kind of get on my soapbox just for 1 second, my last time on my soapbox here, and ask you guys how you're feeling about personally connecting with your clients on Facebook. See, I see a lot of this, which I understand. I see a thumb up. Your staff tells you not to. Is it because of what you post on Facebook? Or okay, good to know. Okay. At least you're honest. How about you? How's it been going for you? You in the blue. You. Okay, Brian. Yes.
I'm kind of like John. I have one client that is always putting their political views on there. I've actually
on Yes, so if you comment or post on political things, you're either going to piss off 51 or 49% of your audience. So it's a good reason not to do it, okay? And I always tell this, I like when I have decision makers and executives in the room, because sometimes our egos get in the way, and we're like, well, you know what? I've earned the right to be able to, if I want to post on my Facebook. So I want to mention this to you. If you frustrate one client or something like that, and you end up losing business, or maybe they don't re-up with you or whatever, that takes food off of your employees' tables too. You know, we got to think about that. When I don't post about a political thing on my, because I got a lot of my clients on Facebook, but if I were to step over that line and frustrate one of them, that's a disadvantage to my employees too, and all their families and such. It's something to think about. It's not just about ourselves. So stay away from politics if you are indeed going to interact personally on Facebook. Did you have a comment or anything about your? You love your clients on your. I can see what's going on with them. Okay, you smart wife. Good for you. Just to repeat, he said, my wife said, stop posting that stuff. You're pissing people off. In so many words. The thing I want, the aha moment that I had with this was our largest client a few years ago. His name is John Covert. And John is from Birmingham, Alabama. He's kind of a good old boy, you know, older guy. And he always tells me like it is. But he's spent a lot of money with our company over the years. And he had sent me a text and he said, Corey, when you get a chance, I got to talk to you. And I was like, oh boy. When John Covert says I got to talk to you, it's sometimes not good news. So I called him up and I was like, John, what's going on, man? And he said, well, this is what I want to talk to you about. And I said, what? He said, your Facebook page. And I was like, all right. And he's like, I really love seeing you be a dad on Facebook. And I was like, what? I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, I just enjoy, it makes me like doing business with you even more, to know that you have good life balance and that you're a good dad. You're a present dad, you know, whatever. And he didn't say it in so many words. That was basically what his message was to me. And I was like, wow, I never really thought of it that way, you know? But like, yes, I am a dad on Facebook. Yes, I am a businessman on Facebook. Yes, I'm a diehard, sad Seminole and Dolphin fan on Facebook, you know, and everything else. But that's the human side of me. And the same thing goes for my clients, right? When they're having successes, I can partake in that. When they're having challenges, I can, you know, express my condolences. I don't know that stuff if I wasn't personally connected with them on Facebook. It deepens the relationship. Bottom line. Are there challenges with it? Absolutely. Do I have to filter myself? No doubt about it. But I've found over the years, and I just give you my own personal experience, that the advantages have far outweighed the disadvantages to be able to be that personally connected with the people that are putting money on food on my plate, as well as my employees and my family's plate. Does that make sense? So just be thinking about it. Yes?
So I work with my dad, and he does not touch Facebook. He will not use it. So do you recommend, because he is my dad, for me to create one for him?
No. So the question, no, I wouldn't, don't force it. I wouldn't force it. If it's not your platform, here's the good news. If Facebook's not for you, you can still be successful. So that's the good news. It's just a strategy or a platform that, you know, can serve you really well, but it doesn't need to be. What I would do if I were you is I would be you. And I would show him, you know, how it works. You know, one day maybe he's just like, well, I missed the boat, you know, or whatever the case may be. But I would be you and not represent him, because it's a difficult kind of. Yeah, yeah. It's not doing you any good, and yeah. But the problem, you know, the one thing you guys got to think about again with these personal pages is, just to give you an example, if you do one of these really cool tax strategy content pieces I just shared on your business page, let me just say this really clear so you guys understand. If you have 1,000 fans on your business page and you post that right now, only about 3 to 5% have a chance to see it. If you have 1,000 friends on your personal page and you post that same message, 30, 40, 50% have a chance to see it. You see what I'm saying? way more engagement on the personal page than the business page. Can you spend money over here to increase that engagement? Absolutely. Do you have to spend money over here? No. But just keep that in mind, that there's if you are connecting personally with your customers and prospects, then of course they're going to have a better chance of seeing that. And then, last but not least, my final strategy for you is I just show you a screen. I say here, you have to be there to be referred. One other thought is the way I get business, and a lot of my friends do, and a lot of sort of the world of 40 and say under do, is we ask for recommendations on Facebook. It's a huge thing going on. Who has an accountant? Who has a business accountant? Who has a business tax service? Whatever. Who's got a bookkeeper, a bookkeeping service that they can use? I would recommend @Steve Smith. They can't recommend Steve Smith if you're not on Facebook. They might be able to recommend your brand or your business name, but it's a heck of a lot easier if I'm recommending my friend Sam, who is in the accounting business and is on Facebook, or I can write a post about you and tag you. So that's just another reason to consider investing some time and energy in the personal side of Facebook, okay? All right. Winners in the digital marketing space are producers, not perfectionists. So when you are thinking about some of these strategies and such, I want you to remember that, to create the perfect post will take you forever, but the ones that are successful in digital are consistent posters, not perfect posters. Okay, we're going to play a quick game just to summarize. We got time, right? How much time do we have? 15 minutes? Okay, well, so we're just going to do a quick little summary game here. Everybody take your open containers of liquid and put them under your chair. If you have liquid, if you have a lid on it, you should be okay. But if you have like water in a glass or whatever the case may be, then just put it under your chair. Just put it under your chair. Okay, so the yellow ball is just simply one thing I learned today. And John, you've been such a good front row. I'm going to start with you. So you'll just hold on to that for a second. The orange ball will go to this lovely lady right here, Cindy. I looked you guys up at Sharp Accounting. I remember you guys are doing pretty good out there. And the red, you're going to say, stay top of mind, build credibility, build relationships, or earn referrals. Which one of those is going to be your number one priority? Okay, so that's real easy. It's like multiple choice. And then the red ball, I'll go to, not giving me eye contact, but I'll go to you here. If you did a Facebook Live series or any type of content, just be thinking about a topic that you might be able to offer to your clients or customers that would be of value to them. Anything in the world, there's nothing that can be wrong. You have time to think about it, okay? All right, so I'm going over to you. John, you're going to stand up for me, and you're going to tell us one thing you learned. Let me borrow this for one more time. Now, this is an exercise that looks really cool for the video and for cameras if and only if you hold your string and toss the ball to somebody else. If you don't hold this string and you toss this ball, it looks stupid, it doesn't work at all, and nobody has a good time. So make sure you hold your string and toss the ball. So, John, you stand up. Let everybody know who you are and where you're from.
All right. I'm John Druddy from Woodstock, Georgia, and one thing I learned is I can be friends with my clients on Facebook.
Awesome. Now, John, you remember I live in Roswell, and cool. Yeah, we're really close to each other. And so you might remember as kids when we were playing baseball and we went out to the field and we were ready to go and we had the ball and none of our friends would like hold up their glove to play catch with us. You remember that? And like to this day, I'm still in therapy over it. Like it's really nice. So I would really appreciate if somebody would give John a target that he could toss the ball to softly and not hurt anybody who would also, there you go, he's got it over there. So Greg's going to take it. So you'll unravel a little bit. So you got some length there. You're good, okay? And toss it over to Greg. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Greg, you'll grab that. All right, and John, you can have a seat. Greg, you can hold on to that for a second. Yeah, you hold on to the string because we're creating a really cool visual. Orange ball. Who has the orange ball? Okay. So staying top of mind with your clients, building credibility, building relationships, or earning referrals. Which one is priority number one for you? Earning referrals. And we're going to do that by getting people to post on social
media, Facebook Live.
Never let a verbal testimonial go unpublished, right?
Right.
All right. Give her a target for the orange ball. Maybe somebody over in this. Oh, he'll take it. My friend in the green. So that's all right. Here, watch. I'll show you a little trick here. We'll unravel a lot of this. You got this. You got this. No one has ever been injured in this exercise. All right. Go ahead and toss it over to him. Get it there. It'll get there, it'll get there. All right, who's got the red ball? All right. If you did a Facebook Live series, it would be on the topic of what? What could you give of value to your clients or prospects? The new tax laws. I love it. All right, yeah, give them a nice Facebook Live or a nice, and remember, if you do anything written, use bullets over paragraphs. Oh yeah, don't throw your glasses. All right, give her a target for the Facebook Live topic. Someone close. She wants somebody close. Somewhere in there you go. He'll take it back there. All right, who has the yellow ball? Who has the yellow ball? Go ahead, sir. One thing I learned. Video on our website, yeah. So after you record that video, you can post that on your website, especially if it's a testimonial or something. Okay, who wants the yellow ball? Yellow ball over. He's got an arm. I bet you. Let's toss it over there. Come on, give him a target over there. Give him a target. There he goes. Oh, careful. She'll take it back there in the corner there. Thank you. All right, who's got the orange ball? Who's got the orange ball? Ah, yes, sir. All right, so you can stay top of mind, build credibility. What are you thinking, Chris? Build relationships. All right, I love it. All right, give the orange ball. Who's give him a target? Third orange ball. Oh man, come on, this poor guy. Give him a target. All right, just go ahead and throw it. Somebody will catch it. Oh. There he goes. Oh, yeah, look at that. Congratulations, like winning the lottery. Congrats. Red ball. Yes, sir. You can go ahead and stand up so we can hear you. You are doing Facebook, like a Facebook Live topic or some sort of topic you might post on social that would be of value to your customers or prospects. Send me money. Okay, but before that, before I send you money, why would I work with you? What's the value? What's the differentiator between you and the rest of your clients? Wow, okay, well there you go. She'll take it right there. This lovely lady right here. Wow, that was pretty good. Nice. All right, yellow. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so the question is, how do we manage for the content, if we're doing like a company profile or somebody like that? Yeah, we get permission from them, and we make sure we get approval before we post it. For sure, yeah, good question. Yes. Oh, yellow, yes. One thing you learned, that's a nice, easy one. Our company profile on LinkedIn. Okay, just like you did in the wedding days, we're going to go ahead and throw it behind you like that and see what happens. So, no, not that way. Turn around, go this way. Come this way. There you go. Catch it. Oh, boy. Oh, look at that. Congratulations, Robert. Oh, no, you caught this. That worked out well. Look at that. All right, we'll do one more round. Orange ball. Earn referrals and get them posted. So how many testimonials have you gotten over time that they either come written form and never posted online, right? So we'll get those posted. Okay, awesome. You can hold on to that ball. You wanted to throw it over. Go ahead, throw it over to him. Catch. All right, who's got the red ball? Oh, yes, ma'am. Sorry. Facebook Live. What would be a good topic that you might be able to write about? The advantages of your bookkeeping service is perfect. And have you ever done a Facebook Live before?
No, my daughter's not on.
Okay. So we might consider doing something like that. And you can, about 3 to 5 minutes, give some good tips, and then send them to your website afterwards, okay? Make sure you go horizontal, not vertical. Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and hold that ball. And then yellow, does somebody have the yellow? One thing that you learned, sir, we'll finish with you. Google local business. That's a great one. Okay, give yourselves a hand, you guys. Now, if you want to just hold up, everybody who's got a piece of the string, hold it up for 1 second. You guys created a digital web presence together. Congratulations. I'll take a picture here. Here, I'll do pano. I'm only doing vertical because it's a pano. Don't give me a hard time. I know what you were thinking. All right. And I'll take one more. That way. Awesome. Thanks, you guys, for doing that. That was fun. A couple other things. Go ahead and hit the slide. You all got a copy of the book there. I signed it for you. There's a bunch of review stuff in there. Anything that you need is in there. So we did a campaign to keep Grandpa off of Twitter because he didn't need it for his business, and it went really well, and it became an Amazon bestseller. So enjoy that book. Thanks to those folks back there to get that for you. So in summary, fish where the fish are, so prioritize your profiles. Facebook, LinkedIn from a social perspective. Don't forget that Google local page, and don't forget your website. Can you hit the... don't go it alone. Use your resources. So in this world of social media, it's really important to use your resources and don't do it all yourself. So make sure that you either have somebody internally, hire an agency if you want to talk to us about that. We'd love to talk to you more about that. I'll put my email up at the end. But definitely important to use your resources. Creativity wins on Facebook. This is the way in college I used to cook hot dogs. But make sure if you do those live videos and such that you're creative about it and you're just not just doing it just to do it. So. And this is my email address. Oh, and to get the slides, the most important thing I almost forgot to tell you guys about. Get out your phones and text slides to 66866. So you'll just text the word slides to the phone number 66866. Now, if for whatever reason you don't want to do that, you can't figure it out, it's not working for you, the other old-fashioned way is to throw a business card up here and give it to me, and I'll make sure that you get the slides. So the two ways of doing it is to text the word slides to 66866 or throw a business card at me. And that's my email address, Corey@ebootcamp.com. And I thank you all so much for your time. I hope you guys got a few things out of today that will better your business. Thanks to everybody who was watching online with us. And do you want me to take questions, or are we good? Okay, so who has a question or two before I run off stage here of anything I did not already talk about for you? Who's got the first question? Yes, sir.
Just tips as far as if we were going to do client interviews, Facebook Live, how short or long should you keep that at?
So, good question. The client interviews, Facebook Live, it's actually okay to extend that out a little bit longer than you may think, like 10, 15 minutes, because it takes a little while for Facebook to create an audience for you. So don't be don't be concerned about going too long because people will jump in and out. Just make sure you've got enough questions and tips to fill that space. And the other nice thing about Facebook Live I'll mention to you is that it does end up becoming a recorded video. So you can do lots of things with it afterwards. Even though it's live, now it's a recorded video. You can share it on your website. You can share it on LinkedIn. You can take it down and edit it and put it back up, whatever the case may be. It becomes a recorded video for you as well. Yes, sir.
So pretty much if you're going to do recorded videos to do in your social media, you may as well just go ahead and do a Facebook Live.
Well, the question is, if you're going to reshoot videos, you may as well do Facebook Live. Not necessarily. The benefit to recorded is you shoot the video, you can edit it, you can change it, you can splice it, you can do all these things you normally can do. With Facebook Live, at least that initial one, it is what it is. So that's the difference. It just depends on what you're looking for. If you're doing like these series of videos, maybe that's live. If you're doing like a professional interview of all of your team or something and you want it to be just right, then you would probably do a recorded video. Any other questions? Going once? Yes, sir.
Validity to the concept that people don't click when you do a search and you see ads. If people say ad, I'm not doing that. I want a real.
Is there validity to whether or not people will click ads on Google? Yes, there's definitely the people who won't do that, just because they know you're advertising. But there are so many that do, But yes, I think that's a fair ask and concern, is that some people will not click on ads. Those savvy enough to know, but there's also a significant amount of people who simply just don't know that that's an ad. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Yes, so if you are doing Google Ads, can you also show up on the first page? The answer is yes, and then what I might do is take the Google advertising money and move that somewhere else. So if you do start to show up organically, maybe move your ad budget to another term that you're not showing up for. Thanks, one more question?
How do you measure success of social media?
How do you measure success with social media? Good question. Too much, I don't have time? No. Clicks to your website is a good one. I like seeing referring sites. So using Google Analytics on your website is a great indicator of how social is working for you. If the referring sites And the top couple are social sites. That means you're doing something right on those, so that's one thing. I still think email marketing is a very powerful platform. Email opens, click-throughs. But our biggest benchmark, if we're working with you, is how many website visitors you had today versus a year from now. That needs to be significantly up if we're doing our job. Okay, so website visitors tends to be our number one. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. You can just roll that yarn up if you want.